Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin, and here with me, we got the whole crew this week. Dagan, you're back. And I got to instantly read a question, as I sometimes do, from Noah Thomas, who says, if Dagan falls in the forest while scout camping, but no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? So, Dagan, we were talking last week, you were doing the noble dad. You know, you were going around, you were spending the week in paradise camping. But enough from me. How are you and how was your trip?
Yeah, man. Am I back? I've been home for a week and a half and I still feel like I'm recovering a little bit. And let me just say, Noah, I did fall in the woods emotionally many times.
We were hearing some updates from Colin that you were texting.
Yeah,
you're like, this is going to be the longest last day of my life.
It was, you know what the thing is, a guy now in my late 40s, I realized I hadn't been camping since I was 17. So like 30 years it had been. And I camped a lot as a kid because I was a Boy Scout. Sometimes our parents would take us camping, but it was mostly in my early to mid to late teens that I did all my camping. And I enjoyed it. But I'm an old man now. And it was nice being out there in the wilderness and nature. I love to hike. But you know what the deal breaker is? It's sleeping out there, man. I cannot sleep without air conditioning. It's just not. It's a complete deal breaker at this point. It was hot. We were up on the northern Chesapeake, so not too far from Gene's neck of the woods, a little further north, northern Maryland. Really scenic, quite beautiful up there on the bay. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. And most of the stuff was fine. It was just sleeping at night, being, you you can't breathe. You're stymied by the humidity.
Way too hot out here.
You're drenched. It was brutal. I didn't sleep for a week, basically. Yeah. I'll tell you what happened. The next day I got home. Graydon and I are sort of recovering. He was good. He had a lot of stamina. He dealt with it really well. I think he enjoyed the trip. His first camping trip, by the way. So he was really thrown into the fire. It wasn't like go camp for a night or two. He went for 6 days straight, learned the ropes. He did really well. I was proud of him, but I didn't do so hot. Next day I get home, I have to pick up Helene and Lilia from the airport because they were down in Georgia for the week doing a college tour. Same week Graydon and I were camping. So I have to drive to Philly to the airport. I'm so tired. On my way home, this was a first. I stop at a red light, normal, right? Sit at the red light for about 20 seconds and then just start going. Their light hadn't changed. And Helene's look, I think everybody in the car was shocked. Like, what? What are you doing? And I was just like, what? And they were like, the light didn't change. You just stopped for about 20, 25 seconds and then just decided it was fine to go. And then I realized, okay, like this camping trip, it nearly broke me. I missed you guys.
Yeah.
I missed you guys out there.
We missed having you last week, Dagan. I'm glad to hear you're alive, doing well after being in the woods fighting off bears and whatnot, maybe some badgers. I don't know what's going on out there. We did have a
raccoon strike the first night we were there. We were, to let you guys know, give you a little perspective. I went with my son's Boy Scout troop. And raccoon just came one night and just tore open. I guess one kid was like baking over the fire. He had like a Dutch oven, so he was like making all kinds of things, cobblers and stuff. Raccoon came, found the flour and the marshmallows, and just looked like just not even got into them to eat, just threw them all over the campsite like they were having a party. It was amazing. It was amazing just to have to clean it up just to see what a wild animal is capable of. It was the whole trip was a nice reminder of nice. Maybe that's not the right word, but it was a reminder of what goes on the outside.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a crazy place out there. I don't want to be there. I barely want to even leave my house at all. So props to you, Dag. Glad to have you back. introducing the rest of the crew. Mama Micah, how are you? I know you've been under a mound of orders, which I don't know. I'll let you go first, and then I'll plug the merch. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am slowly working my way out of the pile of orders. They are surrounding my office though. Colin walked in my office yesterday. He was like, "There's so much stuff in here." And it's like, "Yes. Yes, there is. We got many, many orders, which we're happy about. We're thrilled." But I was thinking of Dagan in regard to the camping thing because I'm researching honeymoon ideas and I'm actually thinking I just want to stay like domestic, just do something in America. I'm really not much of a traveler, but what keeps coming up is camping. And I can't believe how many people think camping is a honeymoon. And I'm just like, this is not my idea of relaxation.
Don't
That's
do it.
absolutely not what I want to do. Like, I'm shocked at how often it keeps coming up in these lists of like ideas for honeymoons, and it's like camping. I just don't get it. I don't want to do that.
That's one way
I don't
to
know.
test your marriage right after you get hitched.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's put up a tent together. Let's, fend for ourselves in the rain and whatnot. Like, yeah, that's just like a great idea right after you get married. I just couldn't believe though that that's the idea so many people had of what they should do for a domestic honeymoon. I was like, I was thinking like Maine or Florida, not camping at Yellowstone.
Yeah, that sounds truly off. Now getting like a cabin, but that's not camping.
Right.
Getting a cabin maybe out middle of nowhere, you don't have internet, something like that. That could be a little interesting, but
glamping.
I don't think being in a tent, I'm sure there's romance for someone in a tent, but not for me. Does not sound ideal. But last but not least, of course, our boy, Gene Park. What's up, dude?
Morning, everyone. It's coming off an extremely busy week. On Friday, on Saturday, I published my interview with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as Trump would try to say it. And she had her stream on Twitch with Hassan Pecker and Pokimane and all those crew, and it was fun. I finally got to meet the Congresswoman for the first time. Well, we spoke on Google Hangout, but
cool.
She was in New York. And then I was a MC. I was up on a live stage for like 4 hours for the National Convention of the Asian American Journalists Association.
Cool.
It's a network of it sounds exactly what it sounds like, of Asian American journalists. So all of them from all over the country came over to DC. And learned a lot of stuff. I didn't attend the convention. I actually don't think. I think my membership is actually not renewed.
They revoked your Asian American membership.
What?
They just see you're out. You're nothing now.
I know. I haven't paid my dues, but yeah. I was MC. I was co-MC for the whole night. It was exhausting. I was like announcing awards, just talking for 4 hours. I'm so tired.
Wow.
And I was also in a suit, and that was my first time wearing a suit since 2019. And since then, I've gained a lot. I've gained about 15 pounds in weight, which is great considering how sick I was last year. So I'm celebrating the amount of weight I've gained. It's great. It's fantastic. But I was squeezed into my suit. Like I could barely breathe. I'm definitely at that point where I had to adjust my pants below my belly to make it feel like that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so skinny, but it's just like at the bone of my waistline and like but just resting below the fat, So now because I've never actually been like overweight before, and I'm technically still not now. I'm just kind of at the top of it, and it's been fun, kind of like learning how to navigate that world.
Yeah.
That's what happens also when you hit 40 something too. So
fair enough, man.
Yeah.
None of my suits fit anymore that I bought when I was in college. Just I don't even want to try them on. I don't want to look at them. Which I need a new suit though. I've got 2 weddings in October.
Oh yeah.
So maybe it's time to get something nice, something fitted.
That's the thing. Yeah. It reminded me before I head over to head down to Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia.
My own attempt at the Southern gentleman voice. I need to buy my new suit.
Yeah. We're gonna get so many pics when we're all looking fly at the wedding for sure.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
Dude, a punching up picture with the four of us, Micah in the wedding dress. I think, and we're all in suits. I think that has to happen. We got to make that happen. So, punching up. This is a bi-weekly Nintendo show, as I said off the top from Last Stand Media. And if you like the show, you can get early access over on our Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. And as always, this show has tons of write-ins. If you want to write in, you also got to be over on Patreon. I believe at the $2 level, you get the ability to submit questions. And then at $1, you get everything. You can get the audio version ad-free. I realized last week I did not plug the Patreon, I think, at all. So that's important. This is how we do things here. So if you are interested in that, make sure to go over there and check it out. And then I mentioned Micah for filling many, many orders. We do have our first piece of Punching Up merch, and that is
there it is.
The Punching Up sticker you can get on laststandmedia.store. And these are free shipping. If you get just stickers in the US, you can get one of these. Free shipping. And then if you're interested in other Last Stand stuff, we do have Constellation stickers as well. And then, dude, so we've already not fully, but sold out of a lot of the Sacred Symbol shirts. We sold way, way faster than we expected, which is great. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. We still do have the Moon logo low-key shirt, though, if you're interested in Constellation shirts.
Love it.
And eventually we're going to have a Punching Up shirt. We wanted to make sure the shirts are a big investment with the way we do our merch now, that we buy everything up front. We want to, give enough time, make there be a frothing demand for, as that one GameCube game cover. What was that? Have you guys seen that? There's like an IGN, it's like a quote. It's like, our frothing demand increases for this game on the front of a GameCube game.
Which game was that?
It's
that
like it's a shmup. Okay, hold on. This is important.
Ikaruga?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So we want, just like IGN's frothing demand for that game, we want your frothing demand for a Punching Up shirt. So eventually it'll happen. Now, I have 2 warm-up questions for you guys that are not Nintendo related 12 minutes in. First of all, Dagan got us on the subject of camping, and I thought this would be interesting from Meatball, who says, hello, mushroom eaters. With Dagan's recent antics in the forest, it makes it sound like you're doing something weird out there.
Wacky.
It got me thinking, what are the rest of the crew's camping experiences? With all the horrible stories you hear, it makes me wonder why it continues to be a favorite hobby for some people. Bugs everywhere, sleeping on the ground in a flimsy tent, constant threat of bear attacks, no internet. None of this sounds very fun, in my humble opinion, but to each their own. Cheers and thanks for all things Last Stand Media. Well, Meatball, I mentioned on Constellation, my extent of camping was always music festivals. And all these things that you're mentioning are exactly what you think about. The sun coming up at 6 a.m., it's immediately 85 degrees in your tent. At nighttime, you get in, and we learned this thing that if you don't tuck your pillow into your pillowcase is just going to be, or your pillow itself, going to be totally wet when you get into bed at night because of all the dew. It would be soaked. So very important that you just don't want to lay in a wet, nasty pillow with a wet pillow and a sleeping bag. And just all these, you're talking about the bugs. I remember one of these events, I was laying and it was raining so bad out. And there was just a stream through the middle of my back, like just straight through the tent. So I can appreciate camping, sitting out in the morning with a fresh coffee. There is something nice. There are positives, but not enough for me to want to do it regularly. Micah, how do you feel about camping? Have you done it at all? Some people are never camped in their lives, and maybe they're better for it. So where are you at?
Yeah, I went camping a few times as a kid. My dad's nickname is Nature Bob. Like, he's just like he is,
Sounds like a PBS character or like a morning show. Nature Bob.
And some of the activities I enjoyed, like ice fishing, fantastic. Camping, not my thing. We went a couple times as a kid, and in various degrees. We went camping in a tent. We went camping with a friend who had like a pop-up, little camper type thing, a little more comfortable. Went camping at like a friend who had like a trailer up in Maine. which was more like glamping. Like we had movies to watch
Sure.
type thing. It's actually where I saw my first R-rated movie, which was Panic Room, starring Glenn
Whoa.
Close, I
Oh
believe.
wow.
And so it's like, yeah, that was the type of camping I enjoyed. We had the Jiffy Pop, popcorn over the fire.
Mhm,
That was
mhm.
fun. We had movies. That was much more enjoyable, kind of being at like an actual campground, that had running water, That's more my speed, but I also admit that's not really the spirit of camping, I don't think. Which is part of why when I see these like honeymoon ideas, and one of them was like luxury trailers. And I'm like, well, we're just not camping. This is just a hotel with a little more inconvenience. Like, I don't want to stay in a luxury trailer and then still have to walk down to the communal bathroom type thing. Like, we're just adding in all these extra steps, and it's not really camping at that point.
Right.
So it's not something I really enjoyed as a kid. It wore off very quickly. I'd be out there for a day and want to go back home. And I enjoyed nature as a kid, but I got sick of it. I couldn't imagine being on like a 6-day camping trip like Dagan did. I think ours were usually like 3 or 4 days at the most, because by then my mom was like, we got to go home. I'm like tired of this.
Yeah. I'm with you. And so Gene, I don't know. I fancy that you're like us. You don't strike me as a camping guy, but I don't know. Maybe you have a story of like camping with Brad Pitt or something like that. I never know what to expect with you. So Gene, where are you at with camping?
You're correct that in reading me as not a camper.
Not the Brad Pitt part, though.
Not the Brad Pitt part.
Damn.
But and you're also correct that I do actually have an interesting story about camping.
Okay. Okay.
So I mentioned before, but for folks who don't know, I used to be in the Navy JROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, right? Where as young kids, we trained to be in the military. And as part of that training, we would go on what's called the FTX, or field training exercise. I'm sure everyone in prior service who's listening out there or was in ROTC is totally nodding their head. I was like, oh, I know exactly what Gene's talking about. Where you basically just go out and camp. And so I was born and raised on Guam. And so we would be camping in the tropical jungles. And it would be over 100 degrees heat. Just in the middle of a jungle in a military land. And gosh, where do I even begin? We're in our fatigues, set up a camp. We're eating MREs, meals ready to eat. Have you guys ever had an MRE before?
Yeah.
I've seen Steve MRE info on YouTube many times.
Yes.
So I know all about the
when you're camping and you're miles away from the local Taco Bell, MREs taste so fucking good. They taste so good. And it's such a unique way to cook things. You use that little slab of thing to just and to just make it melt or whatever. It's crazy. And then you would eat like 3-year-olds and Snickers bars. And then, we wouldn't even really shower for a few days. We'd be out there for like a week or two. We'd just be using like the local like river to shower, like just like a bunch of mermen or whatever. And there was one time where I always tell this story to people I know. There was one time when I was on night watch. So as good little Navy soldiers or sailors or whatever, we would have to have night watch, and our officers would randomly try to attack our camp at night, and just try to make sure that the night watch was just on the up and up, and we're awake and alert, right? So I felt like a Metal Gear Solid like soldier. And one night I was on night watch and I heard rustling in the bushes, and I was like, so I had to say, halt, who goes there? I was like, oh, here it comes, this is the night, right? This is the night that they're totally coming. So I was playing my role. I was like, halt, who goes there? Like an NPC, and then out bursts what I used to think was a boar, but I realized was a feral pig. Freaked me out. I was a monster. I was having I read Lord of the Flies, so I was like, oh my god, the monster's here, And then I ran my ass off. I didn't know what to do, and the feral pig came after me. It was just one pig, right? I don't think it was going to stampede me or anything, But it was still coming after me, and I started running through, and I ran back to camp, and I was like pig, pig, pig. I woke up the whole fucking camp. Everyone got up. Fortunately, the boys were able to grab one of the rifles with a bayonet, and we basically murdered the shit out of that pig.
No way.
Yeah.
Someone stuck with a bayonet, and then another person shot it, and then we cooked it for the next day. So,
I was going to say, yeah, you got to eat it.
yeah.
You got to eat it. Okay, that's cool. That makes the story
Wow,
very cool. then.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
That's a
Wow.
story.
What else happened? Oh, and also, we all, as part of our training, we also had to do sneaking missions. Absolutely everything like Metal Gear Solid, right?
Mhm.
And there was a little base, and we would be dropped off, like blindfolded at different spots around the jungle, and we would have to infiltrate. It was a fucking sneaking mission. It was like Phantom Pain before, like in 1998, 1999. And I was just by myself, and I had to try to figure out how to way to get back into the quote unquote base. And then, there was one time when, the guard was walking by, and I had to stay silent, and a fucking snake crawled behind me, like over me.
Oh,
And on Guam, like we're surrounded by snakes, so I wasn't really that scared. I was just like, oh fuck, a fucking snake is on me, because we have so many snakes on Guam that we used to go around the school and pick them up and bring into the cafeteria and ask the cafeteria ladies to cook them. So that's how like not scared I am of snakes. But I was almost close to the base. I was so close to actually infiltrating the base. And then I hear Halt, who goes there. I totally got caught. Turns out that as I was crawling solid snake style on my belly, my pants had fallen down, and then my tidy whities were showing.
damn it.
It's blaring through the midnight,
Yeah. And then they kept it realistic by waterboarding you for 6 hours after. So, right?
It's only natural.
Yeah.
Only natural for getting caught.
Yeah,
Well-
I haven't been waterboarded. That's one experience I haven't done yet. So
Well, you can look forward to that after Micah and Colin's wedding.
yeah.
After, we can take care of that for you somehow. I'll work something out. All right. So let's make this. Okay. Yeah. I'll make this next one quick just because it's out there. But I was too intrigued by the question from Davey Supple, who says, "What's up, y'all? I'm here for the real question that's on all of our minds. If you could only drink fluids or eat food for the rest of your life, what would you pick? Supposing nothing negative would happen, you just have to pick one. For the argument, shakes and smoothies would taste like nothing for either side. Love the show and love all things Last Stand Media does. Dagan, eating or drinking?"
That shake addition to the rules here is just mean spirited. Because
I feel like that should go on the liquid side.
I just hate that little addendum. Like, because
Yeah.
as soon as you said it, I said, "Oh, I just went straight to Baskin Robbins mint chocolate chip shakes. I could exist on those for the rest of my life." But now that shakes don't taste like anything, I'll tell you what, it would be different for me. I don't mean to make it overly complicated, but if it was warm outside, like in warm weather, like in the summertime, I have a decided loss of appetite. Like I'm not as hungry in the summertime as I am in the wintertime. So warm weather, I'm going drinks. Fall and spring, I'm going food.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on the temperature outside.
Micah, drinking or eating?
Oh, eating for sure. I am one of those people who forgets to drink liquids throughout the day. It'll be 10 o'clock at night and I realize how thirsty I am because I only had one glass of water and half a glass of orange juice for the whole day. So I should drink more liquids. I'm working on it, but I clearly prefer food. That's just an easy one of I would rather have a hamburger or a hot dog than any sort of liquid or beverage. No thanks. All right, bubbly, sparkling water, it's very good, but it's only so good. So give me food.
Gene, where are you at with this?
I'm with Micah that I like food better, but I'm also in between because I think I'm trying to think what would make me more invincible or unstoppable, and I feel like accessing liquids is easier than as I'm thinking about as we just talked about hunting for pigs or whatever. I wouldn't want to seek out food all the time. Whereas with liquids, I can just, steal water anywhere, and I'll be fine, right?
That's true. It depends on the situation. Because if you were in the desert, liquid, you can't go long, right, without needing a drink. But if you were able to subsist on just food, then I don't know if the same rules apply if you could just not eat for like a month in this situation, but
Yeah,
it's hard to
that's
say.
tricky. What
For
about
me-
Monster Energy? Just going like straight Monster Energy, nothing but Monster,
Oh.
or Red Bull or
Right.
you know, like that. Could you survive on that?
I think the heart attack will get you.
Probably. Yeah.
I knew someone when I was doing an internship at a video place that he said that he was drinking Red Bull twice a day, and then he like started to black out while driving, and so he's like, his doctor was like, yeah, your heart is not going to keep up with this.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
So it's serious shit.
I knew a dude that drinks Diet Coke so much. Like
Mhm.
you never saw this guy without a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke. Like he went to
Wow.
every meeting and he always brought a big ass bottle of Diet Coke everywhere. He would drink it after work. He would drink it at night. He would drink it after working out. It was fucking insane.
Yeah, dude. It's
that's-
not good for you.
Yeah, I
but-
love Diet Coke. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
you
I
me
like
know,
it too. But that's a lot of. What is that? Aspartame? What's it? What's
well, yeah, I mean, the aspartame or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And then the World Health Organization is about to come out and say that it's cancerous or whatever. So,
Yeah.
ugh, that's scary.
Oh boy.
For me, I think as much, you guys know how much I love coffee, so that's the biggest casualty, but I'm going to have to go food. I was just thinking Friday night, once a month in Butler, they do a food truck night. And I'm such a sucker for barbecue. Here's me sitting in a parking lot eating a half rack of ribs with fries, and my hands are just, disgusting, have barbecue sauce on them. I'm like, I have like 2 napkins that I'm like rationing, and I'm like, this is a problem. Not really a problem. I didn't overeat that bad, but I was like, I am in bliss right now. This is a 10 out of 10 moment in my life, is eating these ribs in this parking lot. So I'm going to have to say the food, I'm going to have to go with that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I would enjoy the food more, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
I would want
sure.
food more too.
yeah.
But the salt, right? You gotta monitor the sodium intake for all you eaters out there. That's gonna be that, and that's gonna be tricky because that's that's a big chunk of the enjoyment of eating, right? So now you got to check the salt level because you don't want to get too thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tricky one. I'm not happy about this, Dave.
Although I remember in college hearing that most people don't need to drink a lot of water because you get enough water in your food anyways. Enough food is made up of a lot of water that you probably get in your daily. Again, I don't know if that's bullshit or not, but it was a professor who said it. He wasn't like a food or water professor though, so I don't know.
That's true. Professor Water, yeah.
Yeah, Professor Water. It wasn't Professor Food and Water that said it. It was just Professor like a fucking American history or whatever.
Right. You can
What
never
the fuck
tell.
do
You
about
never
food
know.
and water, dude.
Well, thank you, Davey, for that question and for warming us up 27 minutes in. But it's never too late for an opening segment
All right.
from Dagan. So, Dagan, you weren't with us last week. You passed away, but you've returned. Hit us with an opening segment.
I'm slowly returning. So, all right. So I had something fun for you guys. I thought we could do a throwback to early knockback when we used to do wacky things like this. One of the things Kyle and I did early on was we did Mad Libs. And we would just fill in the blanks, do random Mad Libs. And as I recall, the biggest laughing fit we still ever had on the show was due to one of these. Sometimes they fall flat, but when you guys know, when you're a kid, when a Mad Lib hits and it just goes the right way, could be hilarious. But I have a Nintendo themed Mad Lib for you guys. You're going to fill in the blanks. I'm not going to tell you what IP it is because I don't want to steer your choices, but you'll know at the end. And we'll just go around the horn here and you guys fill in the blanks. Dust, we'll start with you. Give me an adjective.
Creamy.
Okay. Micah,
I can't not say stuff like that.
We're setting this off I feel like we're setting this off on the right foot with creamy.
Good.
Especially for this IP. Micah, give me a plural noun and an adjective.
Okay. Plural noun. Don't laugh at me, all right? Because nouns is a person, a place, or a thing.
That's
and
right.
I have to remind myself of these. All right. Hot dogs.
How did I know you were going to say that? I'm like, Micah's going to say hot dogs.
And then an adjective is going to
give me one
be,
adjective.
I'm going to be soggy.
Okay.
Ooh. Creamy and soggy.
Gene,
Jesus.
your turn, my friend. Give me one adjective and one noun.
Adjective is I don't want to say moist because that's too
No,
soon.
do it.
That's
Do it.
No, dude, keep it going.
all right,
Keep
moist and a single noun.
Yep.
Boob.
Okay.
Just one.
I'm trying not to
Just
really.
one- just a
I'm
one
trying not
boob.
to look.
Just
I don't
one
want to. I
boob.
don't want to cheat.
Yeah.
Is the single of boobs not Bob? Is it not one Bob?
No, it's boobs.
One bob.
It's boob. Yeah.
I've never heard that. Wow.
Kind of like that
A
actually.
boobette.
Mm.
All right, Dusty, we're back to you. Give me two animals, two separate animals.
Two animals. Okay, we'll have to go with dog because we
Okay.
love dogs. The other animal is going to be a snake, since we were talking about snakes.
Okay. And Micah, give me one animal and one adjective.
All right. I'm gonna go squirrel because that's my
Okay.
favorite animal. And adjective, we're gonna go crispy.
Okay. Gene, you're going to give me one animal and a plural noun.
Elephant and boobs.
Okay.
The whole family's now.
Yeah.
Both of them are
The gang's
now,
all
here.
are both boobs are now in play.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dust.
That's what she said.
We can finish this up with you, Dust, with three
Sure.
nouns. Give me three separate nouns, singular
Three.
nouns.
Separate nouns. See, it's just tempting for me to just say balls. I'm not going to make them all dirty. We'll do one balls, toothpaste, and a watch.
Okay.
Balls.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one to finish it off. Okay, guys, this is an Animal Crossing Mad Lib.
Oh
Woo!
no.
All right,
Okay.
and I'm going to read it to you. I just want to make sure we got everything in here. Okay, here we go, guys. Welcome to your very own creamy island,
Ooh.
where the hot dogs are soggy and the nightlife is truly moist.
No.
Do you hear that? Your new boob is calling.
Oh, God damn it.
On your island, you can catch dogs and snakes and even rare squirrels. Dig up fossils from crispy creatures like elephants. You can even visit the beach and collect boobs every morning.
Wow.
Collect balls and craft your very own toothpaste and a watch.
Wow. Very nice.
Not
There are some boob collectors out there already. I mean, that's not fantasy. I don't know.
I'm one of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, out there on the beach of all places,
I mean,
too.
Yeah.
shout out to Mad Libs.
That is what we
That's
did in Hawaii. We would just be on the lookout for boobs, you know?
Yeah. That's the place to do it, too. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't think there was really a nude beach in Hawaii, though. And if there was, I'm sad that I never went. So
Yeah,
I
that's-
was-
maybe I'm glad because you think, oh, a nude beach, there's gonna be naked people, ooh, but then it's like it's never the naked
No.
people you want to see. you
no,
know?
it could be a bad
So-
scene. We
I
had
was
one Long
accidentally on a
Island and
nude
it was-
beach once in San Francisco.
Yeah,
we
how
went
was
to. No.
Yeah.
First of all, I think I saw. I only saw like 2 or 3 naked people. One of them was a woman in the distance. Another one was a guy in a bucket hat sitting Indian style near some rocks.
It's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys.
Yeah, it was not a good time. And some people I've told that people are like, how'd you accidentally go to a nude beach? It's like, dude, we wanted to go to the water and we were nearby and we're like, oh, this beach is nearby. Let's just go. Nothing on Google Maps said nude beach.
Yeah, they're never cordoned off or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once
there's
it's public
there's no
knowledge, you
sign
can-
that says here be nude people, you know. So,
So
Warning.
it was a good time. But thank you,
can't
Dagan.
unsee what you're about to see.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still can think it. I can see that guy in my mind's eye on the beach, sitting Indian style with the bucket hat.
God,
Just,
now I'm thinking about that Nair video that went viral. Did you guys hear about that?
I saw
No.
your tweet and I was like, I saw the censored version, but
Yeah,
So is this just a guy's asshole completely on YouTube?
it is within force. So
Taking
Dagan,
your face.
Mike, I'm not sure if you know. But there's this guy, I forget his name, and we don't need to know his name. But yeah, he's doing an quote unquote educational video about a Nair product, hair removal product, and he says right off the jump of the video, he says, "So this is what my butthole looks like now," and then within 4 seconds, it's just butthole, chode, nutsack, full frontal. No censorship whatsoever.
For not frontal, but rear.
Yeah.
Rear
He literally bent over the camera and just spreading his butt cheeks open, and you just see, and it's hairy too, because he's talking about removing hair,
Yeah.
And then so that went viral where like, Kai Cenat, the streamer, like sent the link to another friend. He was like, hey dude, can you just check this out and see if this link works? And he's like, the other guy was like, I'm not opening this. This is some bullshit. And then he opens it. It's like, God damn it.
Mm-hmm. I've never used Nair, but I imagine that your asshole is one of the worst places to use it.
I would rather just deal with a hairy ass. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all warmed up now for the show. So thanks, Dagan, for that. And I'm glad we're all can be here and talk about some Nintendo video games.
Yeah, Nintendo.
This week.
That's right.
Starting off with our main topic of the week, and that's going to be Pikmin 4. And we had a few write-ins about this that just kind of general stuff, but I thought it was worth reading anyway. I'll just read them back to back. First one from Elijah Cinema. Whoa, what a name there. Elijah Cinema. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, this July I finally took the plunge into the Pikmin series now that it's all available on the Switch, and I absolutely fell in love. I couldn't believe how I missed such a fantastic franchise and truly think it's an underrated gem. That's a little, I don't know about underrated. I mean, Pikmin's pretty popular, but now that Pikmin 4 is out and clearly the most refined and accessible, I'm wondering if it piques any of your interests. There's a hefty demo. Either way, have a great day. And then another from James Solar, who says, hey guys, I'd first like to wish a happy belated birthday to Micah. Micah, happy birthday. Last week.
Happy birthday.
Yes, thank you.
James says, now Pikmin 4 just came out on Friday, and I was curious which of y'all are playing it. I know Micah was looking forward to it, and Dustin expressed Holly's excitement, but I can't recall if Dagan and Gene will be playing as well. As a longtime Pikmin fan, it's everything I wanted and more. Congrats on making it into the LSM store. Thank you with our sticker. I'm thinking my stickers should be arriving any day now. Best, James S. So yeah, that's right. Pikmin 4 is now out in the wild. It came out on Friday. And I've been playing it. Holly's been playing it. And I know that Micah and Gene have been playing it. Dagan, I don't know where you're at on this, but I personally have very little experience with the Pikmin IP. I played a little bit of 3 on the Wii U and never played all of it. But so now I'm just diving all the way into Pikmin 4. And let me tell you, I'm having a fantastic time. This game is somehow like, it feels like it shouldn't be a chill game because there's lots of stuff going on and I could see it being stressful, but
there's a time limit, and everything, right?
Yeah.
So you don't feel rushed for some reason. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm just feeling, I was playing it yesterday for a good portion of the day, and I'm like, this game just feels good. Even though it's funny, it feels good. It's happy. It's fun. You got these cute little guys. I'm like, this is fucking brutal. I'm just killing everything I see, and not only killing it, we're taking them and we're recycling the dead bodies. We're taking them in. We're like, no, you're one of us now.
I didn't realize that too. This is my first Pikmin game, and then I realized that everyone who first plays Pikmin has that same realization. And it's like, oh, it's just a cute game. What, you're dragging their corpses for resources?
Yeah.
And
we're gonna grind you up and turn you into a backpack.
Smother these enemies with like hundreds of like Pikmin. You're smothering them,
And it's still adorable.
Oh yeah,
it's a work of art.
It's super adorable, and that's the thing. So right off the bat, you get the ice Pikmin, and I love the ice Pikmin. This is my guy. This is my son, the ice Pikmin. And here's the thing: I'm pretty sure I was telling Holly, I'm like, I think Pikmin are asexual creatures. I don't think they're male or female, but these are my boys. I'm always taking around. I'm getting the boys together, rounding them up, throwing them and stuff, making them carry stuff. I'm like, these are my boys. I got to take care of them. So, Micah, I'll start with you because I know that you, a month ago, I don't think had played any Pikmin. And then I saw that you had completed Pikmin 3 after playing the Pikmin 4 demo and knew you were hyped. So now you're diving in. How are you feeling about Pikmin 4?
Oh, it's fantastic. I haven't gotten to spend as much time with it as I wanted because Pikmin 4 came out on the day that we released all our new merchandise. So I was very busy doing all of that instead. And that's what most of my weekend was dedicated to. So I got to play some of it over the weekend. I'm definitely going to play some tonight. I'm going to carve out some time for myself because I've just been like way too busy with other aspects of the job. And I haven't gotten to play as much, but it's fantastic. I did. Played the demo for Pikmin 4 when that came out.
Where does that end real quick, by the way?
Oh, it's set. I think you gather a certain amount of resources, and I think that's when it ends. I think you hit a certain number of like your sparkleum or whatever.
Okay.
And that's when the demo kicks
then,
off
huh?
of like you've collected too much and now you have to wait. And I
Right.
did the
Okay.
whole demo. Like I usually don't play game demos for more than a few minutes. I just want to taste, right? I just want to see, do I like this game enough to buy it? And like Octopath Traveler, for example, did not finish the demo on those. I just wanted to just get a taste of it and say, all right, I definitely want this game. With Pikmin 4, I got so hooked on the demo. I played the whole thing. That's when I went out and bought Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the Switch because I just said I need more Pikmin. Played through that so quickly. I mean, I was hooked on that immediately and then was just waiting for Pikmin 4 to come out because I completed the game too early. And then I just had a couple of days of like, now what? It's really good. I'll say that like for anyone who wants to play the other games first, like so far I've just played Pikmin 3. It's fantastic on Switch. It plays really well. It looks really good. I have not played 1 and 2 yet. I'm waiting for the physical release of those. But at first I was kind of on the fence of like, do they look too old to go back to? But now that I'm just so hooked on what Pikmin is, I'm like, I don't care what it looks like. I just want to play more of it. Pikmin 4 is just like really pretty. It looks so good. It
Gorgeous.
plays really well. My only hang up, honestly, is the loading times. Like the loading times are pretty bad. They disguise them when they can with like animation, but if you skip the animation, for example, you're just stuck at the loading screen. That's really my only gripe with it. The gameplay is fantastic. I love the little ice Pikmin. They're so cute. And all the functionality is. Now, I'm usually not much of like a puzzle game person, but something about Pikmin, it's on my level. I can really enjoy it, really dig into it. And when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it like, oh, wait, that's how I can go get that, piece of fruit. And I'm just waiting to go back and play. And there is something really special about what Gene said of, yeah, the game is timed. You have like your day-night cycle, but you don't feel rushed. And it is that Animal Crossing quality to me of, yeah, you have a structured amount of time to play, which is great if you're busy. You can sit down, play this for 15, 20 minutes, feel like you actually accomplished something, put it down for a while, go back to it. You can complete this game at your own pace without feeling rushed and without feeling like you're not making any progress. I don't know how they did it so well, but I mean, that's a feat in itself and something I really appreciate about the game.
Yeah. The one thing you mentioned is just how good it looks. I was telling Holly, the main thing that was so striking to me is that it does like this nice bokeh blurred effect for the background and the foreground, and it almost gives it that quality if you've seen some of the photography where it shows like a little car or something from a distance and it's like blurred in a certain way that it makes things look miniaturized, and they use that effect to great effect, I guess, to really emphasize this like tiny little world that you're playing in. And I gotta say too, I'm a big fan of Ochi. Everyone's calling Ochi a dog. I don't know what the fuck he is. He's like borderline. When I sometimes look at him and I see his little eyeballs, I'm like, you look a little fucked up, bro. But I like you. You're a little weird, but I still think you're a cutie, and so I'm a big fan of him. Before I go on, Dagan, I know you said you haven't played this at all. I didn't know if there was if you had any experience with Pikmin or if you were going to pick this one up. Where are you at with this?
I was inspired by Micah saying a couple episodes ago that she was looking to take like the purest arc, like start at the beginning and then work your way up, like kind of earn your way up to the new one, right? But that's kind of a fantasy for me time-wise. But it seems like the general sentiment around the internet is like, Pikmin's been a huge gap for me. I'm just going to jump into 4. So I was inspired by that. Just let me pick it up. It looks like such a fun and appealing palate cleanser. It's different than anything else. It just looks so adorable. And I think I'm just going to pick it up and just jump right in with the fourth one. And then maybe I'll go back and appreciate the earlier ones. But why not just jump in? I have that traditional mindset where it's like, let me, I've been ignoring this franchise for so many years. Feel almost guilty jumping into the new one, but I think I'm just going to jump into it because the general sentiment is a lot of people have missed this series. And it seems like really good. I don't know if it was purposeful on Nintendo's part, but it's really good timing too, as people come off of Tears and need something new. That it's just the timing seems like it's just hitting at the right moment, which is kind of neat. And by the way, I think our listener Elijah Cinema, I suspect it might be Elijah Wood. So I'm saying, what's up? I think it might be him.
Wow.
So I'm saying, what's up, Frodo?
Yeah, Frodo. Maybe he's Frodo. Are you in the room with us? Maybe. It's hard to say. But Dagan, your boy, your master, Miyamoto, I believe said that he thinks that people should start with Pikmin 4. I think that he really strongly was like, this is the best starting point. I think I got the impression that he very much was like, this is the best Pikmin experience. Start here. This is what he wants. So you're being commanded really by him. I mean, so
who could ignore that?
Yeah. So Gene, I saved you for last because I think you've had the game longest of us. So I'm assuming you're furthest along, but I want to see. Probably not. Oh,
probably not. Yeah, because I haven't had much time. But I mean, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah. So I was just curious. I was trying to remember. Pikmin 4 this is your first Pikmin game as well?
This is indeed my first Pikmin game. Pikmin has been a huge knowledge gap for me. I never played part 1 on GameCube. I never played part 2. I totally missed 3 on the Wii U and the Switch Deluxe version. So I, as Miyamoto suggested, I'm jumping right into 4. I was really surprised that it has a custom created character mode. I always thought you're supposed to be Captain Olimar, and in this game they switch it up on you, and it's like, no, you're just you, which is fantastic. It kind of really gives you a stronger connection to the game. It gives you a stronger connection to Pikmin, right? I felt like that was a really, really great introduction for me because it's like, okay, I don't want to. I've heard about Captain Olimar as a character. This is totally like this is a weird experience to have, where it's like, oh, I heard about this character in Smash. That's never happened to me in any other game besides Pikmin, basically, because I know of every character in Smash except for the Pikmin characters. So that's why it was really intriguing for me to just create my own guy, and then now I see him waddling around with all my little Pikmin, and so I have a strong sense of attachment to this journey, and so I'm looking forward to finishing more. I am playing another. There is another Switch game that's much older and that Micah is very much familiar with. We can talk about later. That's completely captured my attention, and I can't stop playing that. I'm not sure if I'll have time to return to Pikmin. I do want to though, but I do also hear that Pikmin is an extremely long game. Pikmin 4.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing too. Is that it's just a real meaty adventure with that's surprising, but not too long. Like it's good throughout. So yeah, I just I'm surprised. I knew that I thought that I would like it, but by the end of the day yesterday, I'm like, man, I think I'm in for the long haul on this game. That I'm definitely interested. I really was starting to get a good feel for it when I never really liked the timed mechanic where you kind of got to get in and get out before the end of the day. That always kind of stressed me out. It's not doing that for me this time, which is nice. I don't know if anything's changed or maybe I've changed. There is a feature that I really like in this one, and I don't know if it's in 3, Micah, you'll have to let me know, where you go into another another Nintendo game where you go into the depths. You go underground in through these little tubes. And when you're underground, there's no time limit. I'm like, this is great. And it feels like you can kind of, the developers could really focus in on some of the different gameplay mechanics that maybe would take a little longer for you to figure out or something like that they don't have to consider the constraints of time in up above. So those have been really fun to go through. And just it's been it's funny when Holly played Pikmin 3, I remember her playing it, and the first time her Pikmin died, she was very upset. She was like, no, I don't want that to happen. And then by the end of Pikmin 3, she was like fighting the final boss, and her Pikmin, it was like a fucking slaughter. And she's just like, yeah, that's what happens. Your Pikmin are going to die. And so a few of my Pikmin died yesterday unexpectedly. And I had that same feeling. My boys just got burned alive. This is not good. But I knew from her experience, I was like, this is just what's going to have to happen. There's going to be some casualties along the way. Mike, is that the case for you, that by the end of Pikmin 3 that you were just like, fuck them kids, they're going out and they're going to fight, and whatever happens?
It's only because of my own idiocy. Because yes, at first I felt really bad when the Pikmin would die, and I actually would like restart the day if I lost like a bunch. Because at one point it was catastrophic. Of like, I accidentally killed literally like 80% of my Pikmin, and I was like, oh, but I can't just like get them all back. So I actually had to restart. But then at a certain point you accumulate so many, and what happened was I had a bomb. And I threw it, and like I didn't realize I threw it, and suddenly it went off and killed 75 Pikmin in one go. But it was the end of my day, and I was like, I can't replay all that. So like, I just had to keep going. I actually texted Holly about it. I was like, I accidentally killed 75 Pikmin with a bomb,
Wow.
And it was you get to the point where you're like, oh, that happened. And then, you get to some of like the boss battles, which there are some really tough bosses in Pikmin 3. And you just have to just throw as many Pikmin as you can at them. It is just like a game of like whoever has the most will win. So you just have to use them. It does. It feels bad, especially because like your little characters will call out. They'll be like, those poor Pikmin. And it's like, don't rub it in, man. Like, I know, but you haven't seen this enemy, all right? Like, you don't know what I'm dealing with over here. So you kind of start out feeling like, oh my god, like look how they massacred my boy, but then it turns into like, go get him, and you just keep hucking them at whatever enemy you're facing.
I had some headcanon, and I saw that Mrs. Hogue had tweeted me about this. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up, because it was shockingly similar to what I was thinking. That I was like, maybe there's some headcanon where in the Pikmin world, they just go and get recycled. They
like
just
reincarnated.
They get reincarnated, and so it's okay. They're just gone for a little bit. This is probably not the case. I gotta say, the moment that I felt the worst, and luckily I saved them, is that I accidentally had some Pikmin go in the water, and their little drowning animation.
It's the worst.
It's
the
so
worst.
bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's odd. Like, when you see those little dude, and what's Ochi was at the time. So Ochi, I mean, this is not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. Ochi learns how to swim very, very early on, but the first day he can't swim. And I was like, oh, I saw in the trailer when he can swim, so I'm gonna hop on and go across this thing. Nope. Immediately started drowning. I was like, damn it. And it was so sad seeing Ochi drown. He was fine. And the Pikmin, I was able to save him, but that little drowning animation, Nintendo, what are you doing?
It's horrifying. There was a moment in Pikmin 3, you have 3 different characters that you control, okay? So you can have your 3 squads of Pikmin. At one point, though, I had one guy in the water, all right? And I accidentally hit the whistle button, and I called all the Pikmin that were on shore into the water with me, and I couldn't get them out of the water, and that killed like 50 Pikmin in one go. And it was horrifying, because they were like doing that yelpy noise. They're drowning. Then you see the little ghosts float up. Like, it was horrifying. And I felt bad.
I just feel like, these Pikmin, they don't need to help you out. They don't need to do anything, but they want to.
No,
they love you. They
exactly.
want to go on a ride on Ochi. They want to go get the pocket watch and dig it out. I feel like they love you. And when they're dying, they're like, Master, how could you do this to me? How could you lead me astray? I feel like I'm betraying them. So, but this is, like I said, you got to get used to it. I've only played for maybe 2.5, 3 hours. And so there's just going to be many Pikmin death along, like many will die. So it's just what's going to happen. But I got to say, overall, to cap this off, and I'm sure, Micah, I'd like to throw this to you too, is just that I think that this is a great game, and that if you're a little interested, I highly recommend checking it out. Just because the beginning, I will say, is a little bit slow. They have you talking to the different astronauts, and like, okay, I don't care. It's a little too heavy-handed in its explaining, I think. But I think it's that way for kids, really. But at the same time, it's not that like Nintendo has a perfect ability over and over to make a game that is approachable for kids, that kids can play. But me at 29 and really any age, whatever, are going to find this game fun and interesting. And I'm sure challenging too at points, but I highly recommend what I've played so far. It's been a great time. And Mike, I'm sure you're there with me, and Gene.
Yeah, I included it in my top 10 best of 2023 already. I was like, this is a fantastic game already. Cool. It's so fun. So
yeah, and with the demo, like I have told so many people to go try the demo because that really does give you an excellent chance to try it out. It's not one of those demos that's so limited that you're going to be left thinking, I don't know if I like this or not. I totally agree with Dustin. It's something I mentioned before. I do think the tutorial is pretty heavy-handed, but I promise the whole game's not like that. Once they give you the freedom of exploration, you're not going to be, handheld the whole way through. Because at first I was like, man, this really feels like a kid's game. I don't think I can play, this entire experience if it's like this. And it's not. Once you get past that tutorial, they just let you loose and that's it. And I will actually say too that Pikmin 3 did not have such a heavy-handed tutorial. I'm curious what the motivation was to make this one so much more user-friendly in that regard.
they probably
because there were
that...
times like Pikmin 3 really did just kind of throw you into it. And I was surprised by that and said, okay, wow. So with Pikmin 4, they revamped it and said, we're going to take it a bit slower at first and then let you loose. So I do appreciate that they chose to do that. I kind of wish it was more of an option of hey, do you want a really strong tutorial or do you want tutorial light? But once you get through that, it's really not very long. You get through that first 15, 20 minutes, and then you're just free to do what you want. And that's when the game is really fun and just completely opened up to you.
They probably figured that, the Switch has a tendency to supercharge their old IP, So they probably thought, oh, this is Pikmin's time finally, because we're gonna be selling it on a console that has a base of 120-some million people,
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking ahead to Christmas. For
look at all of us. This is all of our first Pikmin games, right? So it's nice that they were able to tutorialize at the beginning, and it doesn't last too long. It actually doesn't.
No.
It's not like Zelda Skyward Sword that takes forever. Or even Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where like 2 rooms before the final boss, up pops a tutorial. It's insane. I'm just like, oh my god, why are we still learning about this game? We're about to beat the god of this world.
Yeah.
And Micah, thank you for invoking the Godfather in a Pikmin discussion. That's
absolutely.
Thank you for giving us the unexpected. I love that.
Yeah, it's funny. I remembered that there's some alternate timeline where Dustin was a Pikmin fan, because I remember on one of my birthdays, my grandma had pre-ordered me Pikmin, I want to say Pikmin 2 on GameCube, but then she realized that I didn't have a GameCube, so that I would not be getting Pikmin 2. So instead, I got the game Fable on Xbox, which was fucking awesome.
Hell yeah.
But I always wondered what the Pikmin reality, the GameCube first Dustin would have been like. But I don't know. I'm getting to experience a little bit of that now, which is nice. So Pikmin, check it out. Pikmin 4, it's doing. I'm really curious how it's doing. Like you said, Gene, Nintendo is just right now, the Switch, you're right, does have that power to supercharge. It seems like people are just whatever. Nintendo has gotten to the point where people are whatever they put out right now, I'm going to check it out. And usually, unless it's everybody 1-2 Switch, they're not going to get burned by that. And Nintendo wisely, I guess, hid that game. And for some reason, I don't know why they just didn't release it at all. But so yeah, shout out to Pikmin. If you're playing it, let us know. Let us know how you're enjoying it. I'm sure we'll talk about it again next week during the What We've Been Playing. So I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about the game so far. So let's get into some news. We only have 2 news items, and they're not super substantial, but I think there are things that are worth talking about. And Dagan, you and I had talked about this a few weeks ago because I had missed it in the news, and it's probably good that we waited till now because we kind of have the final conclusion. This has been an ongoing battle between Steam, the emulator creators of Dolphin, and Nintendo. And so this isn't something we've touched on too much in the show yet. So I'm glad we can get into it. It's just Nintendo's relationship with emulation. or I guess the DIY emulation. Nintendo itself loves emulation because they sell it to you all the time on a monthly basis. But when it comes to doing it yourself, that's where they get into some more dicey territory. So some of you may know, or some of you may not know, there's an emulator for the GameCube and Wii called Dolphin that's been around for a few years now, and it's very, very good. You're able to get Mario Sunshine running at like 4K 60 widescreen. The things you can do on this emulator are incredible, and so anyone can go download that emulator on PC. I think it's also like on Mac. It's one of those emulators. They're doing a really good job porting it to a bunch of different places. So the plan was for Dolphin to come to Steam. It had its own Steam page, but they ran into some legal trouble where Nintendo sent a letter to Valve and said, quote, "We specifically request that Dolphin's coming soon notice be removed and that you ensure the emulator does not release on the Steam store moving forward." And so apparently a lot of Nintendo's argument with this is that technically the Dolphin emulator does use let me see if I can get this word right. Proprietary cryptographic keys, including the Wii common key. So this is some of like the firmware stuff that technically would be proprietary and Nintendo's Nintendo's copyrighted software, right? So Valve basically made a requirement for the Dolphin team to get approval. And so we have a quote on that from the Dolphin team that says, quote, "Valve ultimately runs the store. It could set any condition they wish for software to appear on it. But given Nintendo's long-held stance on emulation, we find Valve's requirement for us to get approval from Nintendo for a Steam release to be impossible. Unfortunately, that's that." So, opening this up a little bit, Nintendo has always been very sue happy when it comes to emulation and particularly ROMs, piracy. I've always been somewhere in the middle on this, in that I think that emulation in particular is so incredibly important, especially as we're seeing so much bullshit with digital storefronts and games being left behind. Your GameCube and your Super Nintendo are not getting any newer. They're only getting older, and each day more of them are either breaking, being thrown away, or whatever, till eventually they're only going to get rarer. We're not suddenly going to have a new batch of Super Nintendos or whatever. And so emulating is going to be extremely important for these. But Nintendo, who sells their own emulators, doesn't want you, even if you're legally, you own the games, even if you're legally ripping the games or whatever, don't want you to do that, right? And so what I don't want to say confused, but I understand the convenience of an emulator like Dolphin being on Steam, but it's important to point out that Dolphin, it's not like the Dolphin website is getting shut down. You'll still be able to get it, and technically you can still plug it into your Steam, even though it's not running like downloading from their store. You'll still be able to set up a shortcut on Steam, but I think some people are taking this as a big affront, but I guess the way I look at it is that Nintendo could be going way harder. So, Dagan, I'll throw this to you first, and just because I know you are also a lover of collecting the physical hardware, but where are you at with this? With Nintendo's sue happy, and just, I mean, in general, and with this specific situation with Dolphin?
Yeah, this is the old Nintendo, right? And I'm talking about like 2022 Nintendo, right? I mean, I'm surprised why anybody's surprised about this, right? You have Nintendo, half happy, cheer spreading games maker, and half ferocious law firm. I mean, that's how I've always thought of Nintendo. That's how I've thought of Nintendo over the past 20 years, certainly, right? Like famous for litigation, pressing charges, spamming cease and desists, rabidly defending their tech and their IP to a ridiculous degree. What I was fascinated about was this is a thing, sort of a contentious debacle between two big, entities in the games making or the games industry, right, between Valve and Nintendo. So what I was suspicious of initially was why Valve didn't know better. And what I heard was that as soon as this Dolphin emulator came on Valve's radar, Valve went to Nintendo proactively and said, look, we got
That's what
this
I'm reading
thing,
right here. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
We have this thing. Do you have a problem with it? And Nintendo said, yes, we have a problem. Immediately
Like,
said,
of
yes,
course.
we have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Right. So Valve did do their due diligence, because a lot of it makes it sound like Valve was trying to, we're almost in cahoots with the Dolphin emulator developers and stuff. But which by the way, these guys are just doing what people in the indie game space do. They're evoking their passion for something and trying to spread the gospel about it in a way of, yes, trying to probably make a profit as well, maybe, right? Or at least get their names out there in some way or promote themselves. But that's the sad thing about it. Like, I wish Nintendo would develop some sort of arm of their company to work with indie developers, not just like send up a company like Yacht Club where we'll make a amiibo of Shovel Knight, or we'll get behind Cuphead and Studio MDHR or something. Like, really work with people in the indie dev space and the indie game space to kind of, because these people are just fans, right? We saw this all along with things like, I mean, it's gone all along with software and hardware of people that were fans over the various generations, like Mother, Earthbound, all that kind of thing. We've seen fan communities spring up, and Nintendo just kind of doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I would rather see them embrace things like this somehow. I'm not sure how that works on a corporate level. I mean, I'm talking from a very layman perspective, but that would be this whole Dolphin emulator story reminded me of that. It would be so cool to see Nintendo get involved with it somehow. Again, I don't know if that's too, if that sort of thinking just doesn't work in the corporate games space, but that's what I would love to see.
Yeah. I think, Dagan, one of the biggest problems is just that when you think about the GameCube in particular, there's so many games that are just trapped there. I mean, even I happen to have this close by. I didn't sit here, but I just recently got Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes on
Nice.
GameCube. You can't get this anywhere else. And for me, I bought this, and this cost me like $100 to get this Metal Gear Solid game. And I know, first of all, I know some people say this is a very bad remake. I know that. I'm just very intrigued by it as a game.
It's history.
Have you
And
never
for
played
me-
it before?
No, I've never played it.
Oh,
So that was the thing. I was like,
it's
dude,
actually fun, man. It's good. It's good.
a lot of people that are low key that don't take it too serious are like, yeah, it's worth checking out.
Yeah,
And
you played the OG one though, right? The actual.
oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. I just played it earlier this year.
Okay, then you'll have fun with this one. Then, like who
Yeah.
cares? The cutscenes are ridiculous.
Dude, I heard that this is like an anime version of Metal Gear Solid.
It's a super anime version of it.
Excellent.
All the fights make no sense. They're supercharged. It's hilarious. The worst part about it is that they re-recorded a lot of the dialogue.
hmm
So Mei Ling doesn't have like her little English as a second language accent anymore, which is too bad because that was part of the charm,
Yeah.
So now she just
Absolutely.
sounds like a regular Asian American Chinese woman. I'm just like, I don't know.
But see, Gene, here's the thing. You're talking glowingly about this game and how people that are Metal Gear fans should check it out someday.
Mhm.
How are they supposed to do that? Do they got to go find somewhere that has a copy for over $100,
Get out.
or go to Dolphin where you can play this in? I don't know about this game specifically, but I'm assuming at least 1080p, 4K, something like that. Like, there's probably some different mod support and stuff like that. What are they supposed to do? And I get that there's this argument of, oh, well, there shouldn't be this entitlement that every game should be available at all times. And I kind of get that. And I see that side of it, that it's like, we shouldn't expect everything to be available for sale forever. But at the same time, it's like, dude, games are not, that's the problem. They're not just products.
Mhm.
This is like a really interesting work of art, at
Mhm.
least for me and a lot of other people, that
Mhm.
is part of a series that has history and legacy. And it's like, this is an important part of it.
I have
Absolutely. Oh,
the Japanese copy of Beautiful Joe on camera right
awesome.
here.
Hell yeah.
Because I saw you had your Japanese games. I was like, I know I still have mine. So here's Beautiful Joe. That's still not out anywhere. I guess PS2, right? That's
Yeah.
about it. here's Soul Calibur 2.
Dude, I love those
Nice.
Japanese GameCube boxes.
Yeah, they're so
They're
awesome.
so cool.
They're so cute. I love it. So, I don't know. I've talked a lot. Gene, where are you at as far as, I keep saying that, where are you at? You're like, I'm here. I'm in Washington, D.C. How are you feeling about, I guess this conversation in general, whether it's emulation or Dolphin specifically, just because it's something that I think is commonly in the forefront of Nintendo conversation when it comes to industry stuff that never goes away. It's really important, and we haven't talked about it at all yet.
Yeah, I haven't emulated in like decades. The last time I emulated was when I was back in college, 2003. So it's probably been almost 2 decades since I emulated. So first of all, no one tell me about like, emulation's easy, or this is haven't you heard about emulation? Yeah, I was emulating before you were probably born. Johnny, but all this talk about Dolphin is honestly kind of making me want to check it out. Like the idea of playing Twin Snakes again, I would love to do that right now. Especially right before the Metal Gear collection, and F-Zero or like Beautiful Joe. Like I would love to play Beautiful Joe right now. I'm looking at the box. I have the game right here, and I can't play it. And that's what sucks about emulation. It's like I have the physical disc, but I don't have the platform. I don't have the VHS player to play this stupid thing. So that's why digital preservation is good. Like we all talk about like, physical media, but also honestly, digital preservation is very important too. And
absolutely.
And that's why like their movies have like stuff like the Criterion Collection and everything, and that's why I saw Digital Eclipse is doing like a Criterion Collection type game of the first video game I ever played, Karateka by Jordan Mechner.
Yes.
The inventor of Prince of Persia. That Karateka was his first game. And I'm so happy to see that Karateka is going to be, like on the Switch, on the PlayStation 5. That's amazing. And I just think it's fantastic that game is going to be preserved in such a wonderful, wonderful way. And I don't know if every game should be preserved, but it's really a shame that we're just letting all these wonderful experiences, these works of art, just kind of become obsolete. Is that what you want your art to be, obsolete?
Yeah.
Right.
And we're not learning lessons from what happened with movies too. Like they're scrambling to like restore and preserve movies from the 20s that were all but lost. And this thing we're decades out from that, right? So we're not thinking about it, but eventually we're going to be there.
Yeah. Film's doing better, but we still don't have a 4K copy of True Lies starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Directed by James Cameron. We don't.
True.
I need a 4K edition of True Lies.
It's really
and I
true.
think it's absolutely insane that there actually isn't an updated version of it,
Yeah. That is shocking. That's shocking that movie doesn't have a 4K, but my 4K copy of So I Married an Axe Murderer is coming in the next week. The Mike Myers classic is coming just in a few days now. I'm excited about that. But Gene, you're right. And that's the thing, is that it's not just a few games that are stuck.
Yeah.
Specifically talking about Dolphin, like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Where can you play that other than on GameCube or an emulator?
F-Zero GX.
F-Zero GX. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these games for sure. So, Micah, I guess for you, I'm guessing, have you ever done any kind of emulation? And if so, like, I guess for you now, since you've talked about your past where you didn't have access to a lot of these games, where I'm sure for you sometimes it feels like, well, there's no option other than either emulating or spending hundreds of dollars to get all this old stuff. And then how are you even going to hook it up without buying either like an Eon like I showed last week or something? There's just a lot of investment there.
Oh, absolutely. Number one is that I'm stupid, and emulation is something that is, far outpaces how I use a computer. The last time I emulated a game was actually, I was doing a Fatal Frame playthrough on my YouTube channel, which I really don't use much anymore. But so I purchased the game on PS3 to do the ethical thing, but you couldn't actually use your capture card on PS3 because of the whole protection thing, the HDCP or whatever. So like I had an Elgato HD60 capture card. You can't use it on PS3. So what I did was I did buy the game for, the $2.99 or whatever, and then I played it on my laptop because I felt like that was the ethical thing to do. But, that's really the extent of when I would emulate games. It was mostly because I wanted to play it for my channel and I couldn't just hook up my capture card easily and do it that way. So that's pretty much the extent, though, of what I would do because I'm just an idiot and these things are difficult. And for the most part, I just miss out on things like, Xenoblade Chronicles X, is not, you can't purchase it on Wii U anymore. The eShop is shut down. If I want to play that game, I got to go find a physical copy of it, or I have to be smart and see if some really smart guys put it online for me to play somehow. And this is just outside of my realm of possibility. But I do think, I certainly don't think it's surprising by any means, like Nintendo's stance on this, because bringing it back to YouTube, around the time I started my channel was when Nintendo did the whole thing where you had to sign up for like the Nintendo Creators Program and they got a cut of your ad revenue, and you had to put a little notice like at the beginning or end of your video saying that you were part of the Nintendo Partnership Program. And I had to do all that stuff. They ended up getting like, $1 off of me because my channel's, not very important. But the whole point of that was just like, that's Nintendo. That's the Nintendo that we know. Now they've rolled that back. You don't have to do that stuff anymore, but that's the Nintendo we're used to. So it really shouldn't be a surprise that their stance is, no, we don't want to make emulation even more popular. Valve, don't do this. Like, that really shouldn't surprise anyone, given how obtuse they were about, oh my God, someone's streaming Mario Kart. Like, how dare they advertise our game? How dare they show people that our game is fun and all for whatever. It's like, that was their stance on people just showing off the games, having fun with them, and they wanted a cut of your revenue. So I really just don't think it should be a surprise to anybody.
Have you guys seen any indication, not that we would ever know because they're so secretive notoriously, but has there been any indication that maybe they're working on something like, it sounds kind of silly, but like a GameCube Mini or something like that, where they have this, they're gonna do this in their own time, in their own way, and that's why one of the reasons why they want to squash something like this. I'm not sure.
I feel like in this retro market, a GameCube Mini is actually financially a dumb idea for them. Where you see people willing to spend, morons like me who spent $100 on Twin Snakes and a few other games, that are willing to spend this kind of money. I bet you they're looking at that and they're like, why would we give them a bundle of all these games for $80 or $100 when we could have a different solution where we either get them for a subscription or in some cases, I mean, the remake remaster category is so huge right now that they're like, we'll just hold on to these till we eventually want to remaster it or remake it and charge you $60 or $70 for
That's
it.
a good point.
Yeah, dude, a GameCube Mini would be sick. They
re-release Twin Snakes on Switch. I'm fucking buying it again, just like an idiot, But
yeah.
Well, and the other thing too with the mini consoles is just that they're also going to usually focus on like the most popular games and maybe not the rare niche game that you would really want to see on it. It's like you have a GameCube Mini, it's got Animal Crossing on it. It's like, well,
it's probably not going to have Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes on it,
Exactly. Like, okay, yeah, it's a given that they'd put that on there, but not this game that is like really rare maybe and that less people have heard of. And that's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, it'll have like Luigi's Mansion, which they're re-releasing the DS version anyways. So, Yeah, that's how they're going to do it, which I'm fine with, I guess. I'm just going to buy it all the time, but yeah.
Yeah. The remaster model is such a lucrative gap filler in between mainline releases that cost a lot of money to produce. Like that, you guys are absolutely right. Like that model of sustainability and profitability for the company is just, it's ushered in a whole new era now. They could really rely on that, and it is relying on retro and nostalgia and all of that thing, but it's also not that expensive to resurrect old IPs and just jazz them up, right? It's a model of just, it prints money. So yeah, I mean that's absolutely what Dustin said. I think that's the reason.
Yeah, I think something I wish Nintendo would do, and they absolutely won't, but it would be the right thing to do, is, so for example, when Mario RPG comes out, I understand they don't want to have the original version because they want to have everyone spend $60 on the remake. But let's say 6 months to a year after the remake comes out, put the old version on Nintendo Switch Online so people can check out, so people can see both of them.
That's fair.
Because as of right now, the only legal ways to play the original Super Mario RPG is either for on the Super Nintendo Classic or to own the cart, because all of those the shops they were on before are all closed down. So those are the only two ways now. And dude, Super Nintendo Classic is way more than MSRP now than it used to be. So
I know. What's up with that?
Dude, it's such a we're gonna have to talk about the NES and Super Nintendo Classic, because those were so cool. And it's obvious they came from a time when Nintendo was desperate. Like before the Switch, Wii U's not doing so hot. They needed just a little more time.
It's true. Different era. Yeah.
Different era.
I still don't have the American versions. I bought the Japanese versions of both of those. I bought the mini Famicom and the mini Super Famicom. So I still don't have the domestic versions. And it's true, Dustin. I was looking on eBay. I was like, because I just thought, get one for down at the beach or something so we could play and it would be low effort. We don't have to lag things back and forth. But yeah, it's like, I'm not paying for this. This is insane. They were expensive when they came out.
Yeah.
And hard to find. Now it's like, it has a guy again, that what Micah was saying episodes ago, that Nintendo scarcity. They always find a way.
Dude, one last anecdote about emulation that I've always stood by. I think I've talked about this on Sacred randomly, but one reason why you know that Nintendo is done with Earthbound and the Mother series is that, to my understanding, they have never gone after the people that translated Mother 3. They've never, I don't think they put the ROM on their site. But dude, Nintendo goes after fan projects all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They've never gone after the Mother 3 translation ever. And I think that that's the sign that it's like, yeah, they're never gonna put Mother 3 out in any way, because they would have sued them or told them to take it down by now. So
good point.
They're a little choosy, I guess. But so let us know what you think about Dolphin, emulation, Nintendo. Are they in the right? Are they in the wrong? Let us know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But speaking of bringing games back, number 2, Tomba is coming to Nintendo Switch, the PS1 classic via limited run games. And I got a quote here that said, we're working with creator Takuro Fujiwara, who I believe is also the creator of Ghouls and Ghosts, or at least has something to do with that game, to bring back the beloved platformer Tomba to modern consoles via the Carbon engine with a new soundtrack by legendary Fujita Harumi. Stay tuned for more info about the physical and digital releases. Now, of course, there was other news of games coming to Switch from limited run games. Nowhere near as important as Tomba, as we all know. But Gex Trilogy, a Jurassic Park collection of retro games. Dude, the awesome 3DO game Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, if you've ever seen that AVGN video, is being remade. Dude, you've seen, I know you've seen the video.
When you wrote the show notes, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so excited people are going to get to see this game.
Dude.
And play it.
Dude, and they're playing it. It's like I don't know if it's an HD, but they're like upscaling it. It's going to be super. If anyone has not seen the Plumbers Don't Wear Ties AVGN video, it's a must watch.
Classic.
But they're also doing Clock Tower and many other games coming to Switch. Dagan, I have to ask you, though. It was just a few weeks ago. We were at Too Many Games. We had our friend Anthony Rigucci's panel. And I stood up and I boldly proclaimed the word of Tomba. And the deadpan looks that I got from the audience that day was just like, who is this moron up here talking about bringing back Tomba? And then lo and behold, just a few weeks later, this news out of nowhere that this is happening. It was just really funny to me.
You willed this into being. You completely willed this into being within like a week's time or something. It was uncanny.
Honestly, I can hardly believe that it's happening either. It just seemed like something that was like never in the realm of possibility that Tomba would ever come back. This like low key PS1 game that very few people, at least I thought very few people cared about. But a lot of these fans come out of the woodworks when there's a release. They're like, oh, I've always loved Tomba. Where were you, bitch? Where were you when we needed you? But here, I guess they're here nonetheless. I appreciate it.
Stink eye at your panel and questioning your sanity. I mean,
exactly.
Your powers have grown, my friend.
I hope maybe we can get Tomba 2 going too. But dude, also the
Now you're
Gex
getting greedy.
trilogy at the same time. Gex 2 was a game that I loved checking out. But anyway, Dagan, I've talked enough. How are you feeling about not only Tomba, but these other games coming to Switch? I think there's a lot of neat stuff here, like that Jurassic Park collection of all those old games.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool stuff.
That's a cool way to kind of package up the Jurassic Park games for sure. I like that. And it spans eras, which is cool. Tomba, I like too, Dust. I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not as much of a Tomba fanboy as you, but I love that warm and comfy manga design style. It just has like flavors of the real kind of cartoony 70s anime feel to me, which I've always loved. The plumbers don't wear a tie thing blew my mind. I think, if I'm not mistaken, don't completely quote me on this, but I think there was a version available of that game for Sega CD. I'm pretty sure, because when I found out that this game existed via James Rolfe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Via the Angry Video Game Nerd, I never knew about it back then, even though we were huge marks for the Sega CD growing up. I thought we covered all our bases. We had even the most obscure deep cut games for that system. Between me and my best friend, we definitely had, I thought, everything. When I found out about Plumbers Don't Wear a Tie, you want a low budget game. I mean, you guys have to research this game. It's unbelievable. I think a very small East Coast United States based developer, maybe they did one game, a company that had no business making a video game. It's complete live action. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe this is what I'm talking about video game preservation and introducing things to new generations that they may have missed, because I feel like along with the greatest games, you also have to make available the real deep cuts and real low budge games. I feel like that's really important. Just to see what a console generation or a specific era of video games felt like from A to Z. You know what I mean? From soup to nuts, and from really low budge to the highest AAA stuff. I think getting a flavor of what an era felt like, you have to have those games. So I was really excited about Plumbers. Everybody's going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but that game is, I mean, just watch, even if you don't get to play it, watch a playthrough. It's a one of a kind experience.
It is, it's hard to, you don't even want to describe it. Like, I just want people to just go and see what this game is. Micah, I hate to tell you that, no, I don't. I take great pleasure in saying that Tomba's going to be required playing for everybody on this team. So tell me, how excited are you to play Tomba on the Switch?
Honestly, I am looking forward to it because I had no idea what it was until I met Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of it. I also didn't know how to say it because it was just one of those in my head that's definitely not how it sounded, you know? Like in my head it was Tomba, and that just made sense, you know? It was like, okay. So, yeah, that completely something that I'm unfamiliar with. And I am looking forward to it. I gotta know why Dustin loves this game so much. I need to experience it. And then I can rag on it when I find out it's probably not as good as Dustin remembers. But we'll get there. We'll get there in time.
Yeah. So Tomba 2, I played a ton growing up. It's just a game that we had. I don't remember who bought it for us or why, but we just love this game, Tomba 2. We did also play Tomba 1 eventually. And really, Tomba 1 is better than Tomba 2, but Tomba 2 is the one that I'm really all about. We played multiple times. Why is it good? I don't know. It's a weird game. And it's just like weird situations where you're this guy that's shirtless with pink hair named Tomba, and he's friends with a monkey named Charles, and you're defeating these like evil pig creature, the evil swine. And they have you have to get the evil pig bags, and then when you fight them, you have to throw them into the pig bag and they get sucked up. And so you got when you take them out, when you capture them, the land returns because they curse the lands in different ways. It's very weird, and that's why it's awesome. It's the right kind of weird. There's a plant in the first level of Tomba that looks like a butt, and when you grab it, it farts, and it never shows up again. And it's never explained what's going on with this plant. So
are you sold?
Yeah, you got to check it out. You got to peep it.
It's always had a cult following. I feel like.
Oh yeah. There are dozens of us out there that are. Shout out to the Tomba Club. That's a Twitter account, and there's also a Discord group of morons like me that are just obsessed with this game and have been keeping the faith alive. So, Gene, are any of these games speaking to you? Are you familiar with Clock Tower? A lot of people really excited about this. And I don't know anything about it.
Clock Tower is very good. It's very scary. It's definitely one of the OG survival horror games. I don't know how well it's hold up, and I honestly don't remember too much of it, but I definitely remember playing it and really, really loving it. So, and it was genuinely scary. It was scarier than Resident Evil back then. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited for Tomba. I never played Tomba. I was always interested in it because it always reminded me aesthetically of either the Wonder Boy games from Sega or Hudson's Adventure Island on NES, starring Master Higgins, which was also a Wonder Boy port before it became its own thing. But aesthetically, they're both about men in grass skirts, loud-looking men in grass skirts running around. I didn't know that Tomba is a Metroidvania. So that makes it a lot more exciting for me. I thought it was just I thought it was like Klonoa, which is just like a regular platformer. Yeah. And I always think that I was like, oh yeah, I want to play the quaint platformer that I used to like Pac-Man World. I bought Pac-Man World. I just haven't gone back to it. I need to be in a real mood for a platformer. Sure. But with Tomba being a Metroidvania, that itself would definitely get me in. The Gex trilogy. Here's what my friend Wooly said about the Gex trilogy. The Gex trilogy is a series of advertisements in EGM and GamePro. That's it. That's the only way you know Gex, because for some reason they spent so much money on marketing Gex. So every copy of EGM or GamePro, Electronic Gaming Monthly or GamePro that you got back in the 90s or early 2000s, mostly in the 90s, it was just covered with Gex, So I'm not really excited for those. But it's kind of cool it's coming back. Jurassic Park Collection, I'm actually excited for. The Super Nintendo version of Jurassic Park was like an open world shooter. And the Jurassic Park for Genesis was a side-scroller shooter, more akin to like Contra or something. So those are really, I'm actually kind of excited to just kind of dive back into those. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, I could take it or leave it. I don't care. I understand the old meme with the potential of it, but for me, it's like all your bases belong to us. Like it's the meme has run its course, and it's fine.
What if I told you it had boobs in it?
That's okay. There's plenty of boobs. I can Google boobs right now and
nice
more
boobs.
high res versions of boobs.
There's
all
much
kinds
easier
of boobs
ways
of
to
different
find
kinds. I do remember. I grew up. Trust me, I grew up around the time of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I didn't like it back then. I didn't like it now. So,
Gene, I was expecting a man of more class and sophistication than this, but.
No,
I was just.
It's
You remember Night
game.
Trap?
It should be banned. Like Night Trap. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Nintendo thought so. Back then, right? I mean, I just remember playing Night Trap and thinking like it can't get any crazier than this, and then hearing about Plumbers too late, by the way, and I was like, oh my god, how the hell did we miss this? But I don't think it was available. I think it was like maybe thousands of copies.
Okay,
like
look,
in the single digits.
I probably already masturbated to it.
Oh yeah.
So I don't need it anymore. That's what I'm saying.
The thrill's gone.
The thrill is gone. Like it's not like one of those old classic porns, and you're like, oh, I haven't watched that one in a while. It's like it already happened once, and I did what I needed to do with it, and I moved on. So
now I'm trying to remember. Does this game have penis in it too? Because I know there's the guy.
No, yeah, the guy is the protagonist.
Yeah, but I know that there's a shower thing with him. But I just don't know if you see dong.
I don't think you've seen dong. I feel like the fact that
we need equality.
Well, the fact I remember being so shocked when I saw dong in Grand Theft Auto 4 DLC, and I was like, I think this is the first penis I've ever seen in a video game, which is not true. The first penis in a video game is actually the final boss of Manhunt, the other Rockstar game. And he's a big naked dude with a pig face, and as he walks around stalking you in the hallways, his dong is just swinging back and forth.
Just flopping around.
Yeah. With a rock star. No, 93 was still a lot of sexism in video games. We weren't. It was as long
Yeah.
as the chick was naked, that was going to be enough, and that was okay back then.
Right.
You know, it was a different time.
Well, dude, I was thinking about Final Fantasy 16. I'm like, this is a game for the ladies more than like Clive is just like, man, this guy, he's got me feeling things, and I'm pretty straight. But Clive, you know, he's built.
He's got
See
me
him
feeling
shirtless a
things
little
too.
bit.
Yeah.
So times
The
have
most
changed.
irritating thing about Final Fantasy 16 is that you can just hear the leather like rub against itself and against his thighs. Like as he's walking, every second you move in Final Fantasy 16, you're always reminded about his butt, his thighs, and the leather that's wrapped around it. You know.
Hey, some people say that's not a bad thing to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
So
no, you're selling me on this because I haven't
You
started
were
it
selling
yet.
me
Oh,
too.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
interesting.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, because Colin's been having his headphones the whole time, so he's been having the
Oh,
full
right.
3D audio experience of having Clive's thighs wrapped around his.
No wonder he
head.
likes it so much.
Yeah, no wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Very telling.
No wonder it's a fantastic game. This is like Horizon Forbidden West for me. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, Colin. I'm
I've got
excited
two
for
quickies.
the spoiler cast for that one.
Yes. Very soon. Spoiler cast coming.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout. 2 quickies for you guys real quick. Number 1, Pyra and Mithra Amiibo are coming out. $30 for both of those. Get your jars ready for those one, boys. Let me tell you. And then after
Speaking
that,
of
I'll be getting,
masturbation.
yeah. After that, I'll be getting my jar ready because there's only one character left, Sora, for Amiibo. An Amiibo Sora. I might have to buy 2. One that I open and one I keep in the box. That's the only time I've done that with Amiibo. But Sora,
one to rock, one to stock.
might be the one, yeah. After that, Stardew Valley is still getting updates, and I know this is an extremely popular game on the Switch. That's where I played most of my time on it. Version 1.6 has been teased, and the developer Concerned Ape tweeted new festival, new items, more dialogue, secrets, ? So be on the lookout for that. Stardew Valley is a fantastic game if you haven't played it yet. The king of the farm game, well, I guess after Harvest Moon kind of took over, you know, they took over after Harvest Moon. So check out Stardew Valley.
Big gap for me. I almost bought that last night on the eShop.
Oh, it's
Maybe
so
I gotta
good.
buy it.
It's
so really good.
So good. You'll lose a lot of time to that one for sure. So guys, let's get into what we've been playing. We've already talked about Pikmin 4, but Micah, let's check in with you right now in Xenoblade world.
Yeah, so Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I finished that actually the day that we recorded the last episode.
Nice.
I sat down, finished that game. I did start the DLC that's included on the cartridge, which is Future Connected, I believe. And I got into that a little bit, but it really was just me killing time until Pikmin 4 came out. So right now that's on the back burner. I do plan to go back to it. It's a little annoying because you get to the end of Xenoblade Chronicles, you're, really over leveled, every fight's easy type thing. And then you kind of like get rolled back a little bit in the DLC, and you also have a different party.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those you get really used to. Yeah, you get really used to fighting with your core group. At least I did. I wasn't someone who was changing out the characters very often. I had my system of how I liked to play, and I played really with the same 4 party members 90% of the game. Now playing the DLC and your party is, completely mixed up, it is just a little jarring to like kind of get back into the experience, and your play style has to change a bit. So it's not that I don't like it, but I have to get used to it again because it's just a different play style than how I was, originally getting through the game. But it is good so far. The little story that they're presenting, has me intrigued. But Pikmin 4 certainly has my attention right now. And I did want to actually, something I thought of earlier while we were talking about the game, as Dustin mentioned, not typically liking, timed mechanics, and I'm very similar. And like one specific memory that came up was actually playing Bully on like Xbox. And Bully is another game that had like a timed system. And there was one mission that I could not complete within like the set amount of time before it gets dark. And in that game, like when it gets dark outside, you just like collapse, because like you're a child and you get too tired and you just like fall over. And there was this one mission I could never get past. And I remember being so frustrated at it. I hated anything timed after that, refused to play games with such mechanics. And Pikmin really is just the opposite of how that works. Like, there are times where I get mildly frustrated because it's like, no, I'm like literally the Pikmin are like 10 feet away from bringing this apple to the ship. But if I don't call them in, they're going to be lost type thing.
Mhm.
But I go back tomorrow and I just go get the apple. It's really just nothing's lost. You know, the progress you made, you still made. You just start over again tomorrow. So they've really like mastered that in the way that you have this timed mechanic, but it's not stressful at all. And I'm just having a blast with that game. The limited time I've gotten to play it these past couple days, it's just still incredible. And I can't believe just how into it I am. Like, that demo totally sold me. And now it's just all I think about is just more and more Pikmin. I'm already impatient for the September release of 1 and 2, you know, the physical copy that I
Right.
ordered.
Yeah, good to hear it. With Xenoblade, that's a type of game you definitely need a little break in between, even with
That's the
DLC.
other
That makes
thing.
sense to me.
I completely forgot that the DLC was on the cartridge. So
Mm,
I almost had like my heart sank for a moment because I finished the game. Immediate feeling of accomplishment, like, wow, that was a really good game. Took a while. You know, I played that for quite some time, but I was so happy to be done with it. I get to the title screen and then I remember I see the button that says extra story. And it's like, I totally forgot that was even on here. And I feel like I do need to play it. It's not the longest DLC, but the problem is that the estimate people give online is like 10 to 20 hours. And I'm like, that's a
yeah.
pretty big difference. Like, is it 10 to 15? Is it 15 to 20 type thing? Like, saying 10 to 20 hours is like not helpful. So, you know, I want to get through the story and experience it, but not knowing, you know, a baseline of how much time it's going to take, it just kind of brought down my motivation just a little bit. But I do definitely want to play through it. I want to get through these games and experience all that they have to offer.
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, I know that people are desperate to always hear. They want you to succeed in this journey for Xenoblade. I'm seeing the right ends. So
Yeah, it's been
What you
awesome
think
to
of the
kind of
ending?
experience that too. There's so many people like in the Discord that were really hyped that someone was talking about this game that they love so much. And it really was all because of Gene, because it's a game that I had in my collection, but until Gene started talking about it, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. And then hearing Gene speak on it, I said, well, I gotta play that right now.
What's-
I gotta
yeah,
know what's so special
What do you
about
What do you
that.
think about the
So,
end?
oh man, I mean, just emotional is the
Right?
word for it. Like, yeah, without spoiling anything, it's one of those games that really sat with me for a while.
Mhm.
Because I talk about it like my favorite 3DS game is Seventh Dragon 3, Code
Mm.
VFD. That's a game that still just really lingers with me. I cried at the end of that game. Like, I cried a week later thinking about it. It's just one of those games that has stuck with me for a very long time. And I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles is the same thing of I just still thinking about it, and it was incredible. Really, really special game that I totally recommend people check out.
I'm so happy.
awesome. Gene, I know you're playing a game, not a new game, but not an old game either, but one that you're catching up on. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So I have been playing and I have been obsessed with Octopath Traveler 1. I tried playing it back in 2018, and Octopath Traveler is the perfect example of a game where you just really, really need to be in the mood for. Because I distinctly remember in 2018, I was not in the mood for a JRPG. I was not in the mood for a turn-based game. But I really wanted to play Octopath Traveler because this is a game scientifically designed to cater to me, the Final Fantasy VI fan, you know, the fan that misses the 16-bit RPGs of the day, the fan that kind of wishes that Xenogears and now Final Fantasy VII ended up becoming the more influential game, right? With the 2D sprites and the 3D backgrounds, and that's exactly what Octopath Traveler was. And then I played the game in 2018, and I could not fucking understand it. And it's not a hard to understand. It's not a hard to understand game. But it just really goes to show you how not into the gameplay I was in right now. I just really didn't want to play a turn-based game. And then Octopath Traveler introduces all this stuff about like the braking mechanics and the weaknesses and the boost points. all that stuff just flew right over my head, and I just kept hitting fight throughout, and I just couldn't get through it. I didn't understand it. And also, of course, there was the structure of Octopath Traveler, the fact that none of the party members even talk to each other, and I was a little bit put off by that, right? Now in 2023, I finished Final Fantasy 16, and it really didn't scratch that JRPG itch, as you all would know, because it's just a straight up action game. There's no RPG. There's barely any RPG to it, right? So I really wanted to try Octopath Traveler again, and I was able to hunt down. I guess Amazon. I guess they reprinted the North American version, so I bought the physical cart on Switch, and I totally get it. It's totally clicking with me now. Everything about the boost points, everything about guard breaks, I totally understand. It's so fucking satisfying to have like to set up a perfect string of attacks that you know is going to break their guard, and then the next person is going to unleash like a fire spell that's going to hit them twice, and it's going to be like 3,000 damage. And then you make sure you hit them again. You break their guard again, so the boss is completely helpless, and then the boss isn't doing anything, and you just feel so powerful, and the effects are so good. They fill the screen. It's like I'm playing a Marvel versus Capcom game, but it's a Square Enix RPG. So it feels good. It looks good. The music is great. The story is still the same, obviously, right? It's still disjointed, but I'm coming off the fact that I just played Final Fantasy 1 and 2, the Pixel Remaster. And so again, those games don't really have a lot of story. So I'm really in that mindset of like, I'm not really in for this really connective, this story with connective tissues and with really great themes. I have Xenoblade Chronicles for that, right? Octopath Traveler is just a real simple game of about just people on an adventure, and they're just finding their own journey. That's what I'm taking it as, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm pretty much deep into chapter 2 of Octopath Traveler. It's one thing I didn't realize is how fucking long it is and how very grindy it is. Because you have to, once you get to chapter 2, you finish all the 8 chapters of all of the original Travelers, and you have to go to the next segment of their game, and then you have to keep using them over and over again. So I'm always having to level up party members that I'm not using. Fortunately, it's pretty fast. And it gets pretty easy once you have like if you're just trying to level up one person and you have 3 characters that are properly leveled up, then you can probably get through it, and you can probably level up your other character pretty quickly. But it still takes some time, and it does kind of slow down progress. But everything is just really clicking for me. And of course, I know everyone is already typing, "Oh my god, you have to play Octopath Traveler 2. It's so much better." I know it's so much better. I hear it's so much better. I hear the music is so much better. I hear the story is so much better. I don't even know anything about what new gameplay mechanics are into, and I kind of want to have that not spoiled for me. I just kind of want to go in and be surprised by the new mechanics that they added in the 2023 version of this. So I'm very excited to get back to finish Octopath Traveler 1, because I heard part of the reason why I'm playing part 1 is because I heard part 2 was so good, and I was like, okay, if part 2 is really good, I feel bad not earning, like what Dagan would say, not earning my way to the newer one, right? So I want to earn my way through the new one. So I as tempted as I am to jump right into 2, and I know that they're separate stories, I could jump into 2 no problem. I'm pretty invested in part 1, and I'm really excited to get through it. It's just a lot of fun. I'm having and the RPG mechanics are there. I'm actually worried about like which party members are wearing different types of armor. I'm worried about like what rings they're wearing to enhance their abilities, whether they have enough evasion or whether they have enough elemental attacks. All the shit. An RPG. Can you imagine, Dustin?
It's so good.
Yeah. Can you imagine a game with elemental weaknesses, right?
Wow.
And we could talk more about that in the Final Fantasy 16 spoiler cast. I have so many things to say. But I'm just having such a grand time. It looks fantastic. It just feels like something that it's finally clicking with me. So I'm happy to finally join the Octopath Traveler bandwagon, and I can't wait to get to part 2.
Awesome.
Gene, can I ask what character you started with?
Therion.
Oh, very good choice.
Yeah.
Very good choice.
It's cool because one, you have to open all the purple chests, and he's the only one that can do that. You have to have him in the party. So it always sucks to find a purple chest and to think that you can't open it. See, initially I started with Olberich, the knight, right? I was like, ooh, I want to be a knight. And his story was kind of fucking boring. And Therian's is a little bit more interesting, right? Like he has to find like these 3 dragon stones or whatever. And he's got white hair like me. And I always loved the thief character in Final Fantasy. Locke was always my favorite character in Final Fantasy 6. So I thought like, hey, finally I can start an RPG as like my typical apathetic, morally ambiguous thief character. So I started as him. I thought about starting as Cyrus too, the scholar, but I don't want to be a black mage as the main character. So yeah, so Therian is my guy. And my party is Therian. It's the first 4 characters I got. Therian, Hottie, I guess her name is. The the hunter, Hottie the hunter, and Ophelia the white mage. She's a really boring character, but she's a white mage, so whatever.
No, she's not boring.
She
I
gets
promise.
better. Okay.
Oh my god, that ended up being my favorite storyline.
Okay, cool. Primrose is a fun storyline too. I really like her.
Yes.
I'm really kind of all these stories are so simple, right? But Primrose has acted so well, so like I'm really convinced in what she's gonna do. And then Cyrus is my 4th character, so that's kind of the crew I run with. And then everyone else, I know Tressa is apparently the best character, so I definitely got to learn her more. And I also have the merchant side job. Oh my god, I just opened up side jobs over the weekend. That opens up so much more possibilities of actually how you play the game. Each character can get a different job, so you can just build your perfect party. It's so much fun. I love RPGs.
I gotta play. You guys are selling me all
incredible.
over the place.
I love RPGs so much. I love all the customization. I love feeling powerful because I made it this way.
Yeah. Well, Gene, I'm glad it's always nice when a game just clicks, finally. So I'm happy to hear you're having a good time. Dagan, I know you've been back for about a week and a half. Have you been diving into anything?
Yeah, been busy since returning from the wilderness. I mean, first and foremost, Colin and I are playing Final Fantasy 3 right now. We continue on our quest to get through all of the first 6 Final Fantasy games, the Pixel remasters. I'm playing on Switch. I'm assuming Colin's playing on PS5. But yeah, so well into that. And then my second thing was Colin's been raving about Final Fantasy 16, but he's also been raving about this little game that just came out maybe a week ago called Gravity Circuit.
Oh,
he won't shut up about it. Will not be quiet about it. So besides really getting me, anxious about Final Fantasy 16 and wanting to start that, this Gravity Circuit game turns out to be heavily inspired. Little developer, Domesticated Ant Games. I'm not sure where they're out of, but little games, sort of a send up to Mega Man, the Mega Man X games, and I see a lot of the first 3 Ninja Gaiden games in it. Platformer, very inspired by 8-bit and 16-bit, some of the greats, and it's a lot of fun. It's really fun, satisfying, just straightforward. Definitely a reverent nod to the games that it came from. I mean, the intro to the game is a direct send up to the intro of Mega Man X, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So it's really a loving sort of send up to those games, and really well done. Really satisfying gameplay, very fluid, kind of digging it. And the third thing I wanted to tell you guys about, which I've been very mindful of, is my Tears of the Kingdom quest, because I realized, as I've said in past episodes, I'm on this very distracted, unfocused mission where I'm wandering, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm like, just stay on task. And then I'm like, but I got to look over here. And I'm just feel like I'm sinking deeper and deeper into the quicksand. So I got my son, my 12-year-old, who was a huge Breath of the Wild fanatic. I mean, like fanboy. I got him to commit. We made a pact. We're going to play Tears together. I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a complete refresh. I'm going to play with him. I'm going to rely on him a little bit to keep me sort of focused and dialed in. And I think it's going to be fun. So I just felt like I needed to start over, which is a rare feeling in video games. I think I'm just kind of intimidated by the scope and the size and not doing it right. Like I think I got off on the wrong footing. So I'm doing that. And I'm excited about that. I'll keep you guys posted on that. And then The fourth thing, I sort of, when I got back from camping, I was like, I need to do like a gap check mission. What am I missing here? Especially on the Switch side, or things that could be played on the Nintendo side. And I went through and I realized Cuphead. If I'm going to gush about Cuphead, we'll have to do a whole nother episode, but I hadn't played the Delicious Last Course yet. So I picked that up for Switch because I played Cuphead on the Switch. So I said, let me pick this up. I haven't really jumped in yet, but I want to support Studio MDHR. I mean, I'm an animator, right? Like, it's my duty. So I picked that up, and then I noticed last night or the night before, Child of Light was on sale on the eShop for $5. And I said,
Not bad.
I have to. What? I forgot all about this game because frugal guy. I'm looking through the sales thing, and I'm like, Child of Light for $5. What? So, and I'm sorry to say, I think the sale's over by the time I'm talking to you guys about it. But I picked it up just in the nick of time. Super excited about it, and yeah, man. So I got a lot on my plate, but I'm especially Final Fantasy. I'm excited now because I'm getting ready to jump into with Final Fantasy IV, which we'll cover probably in the fall. One of my favorite games of all time. So I'm excited. We're almost there. And then I'm excited to go back and sort of explore Tears the right way, because I feel like that's a big part of what we're doing here, right? And I'm a little behind the 8 ball. Not as behind as I usually am. Sometimes I'm behind by years. But yeah, so I got plenty to juggle. And then the Octopath Traveler thing, I almost picked up the first game last night. It's funny that Jean was talking about it. And then Micah, of course, I know her love for the series and for the second one. I feel like that might be my biggest gap for punching up right now, because I know I'm going to fall in love with these games, but I know they're also a huge time sink in the traditional JRPG sense.
I did not expect Octopath Traveler to be about the size of Xenoblade Chronicles, but that's crazy.
That's a big game.
That's crazy. Yeah. And Xenoblade Chronicles is 100 hours. So
you know where I go wrong with that, though? And I don't know how you guys feel about that. I do. I mean, this is kind of my Achilles heel in life in general, but I'm bad at chipping away. Like, I'm like, give me all or nothing. Like, if I'm going to download Octopath Traveler and I know I'm going to relish it, like, I want to be able to just give a whole day to it. Let me play it for 10 hours. And it's not realistic. So I have to kind of embody this mantra of like, just enjoy it in fits and starts. But let me ask you guys, with Octopath specifically, like, can I enjoy it that way by just coming in an hour and going back out, and then the next day giving an hour or two?
Each character chapter is about an hour long, and then you fight a boss. The boss takes a while, right, Micah?
Yeah,
I love that.
Actually, a lot of the fights actually take a while, especially if you kind of like just at the beginning when you don't have enough like things to attack weaknesses with. Like a certain every enemy is weak to like a certain type of weapon type or magic type or attack type, and if you don't have that, then the fight is going to take forever. And even if you do have that, some of these bosses are real HP sponges,
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, Micah, you weren't so keen on part 1, but you love part 2?
Oh, actually the opposite. Like, 1 is my favorite. I think 2 improves a lot of things. But there are aspects of 1, like the stories in 1, some of them I found more interesting than 2. But 2, it does improve on the combat system. And, as mentioned, like the graphics, the music, everything like that is better in 2. Like, one thing for Dagan's question that you asked, though, is Octopath Traveler 1 is very structured in that, like, each character has a certain number of chapters. Each chapter is set up a very similar way. Octopath 2 sort of departs from that, which just makes it a little more difficult to tell how far you are in the game.
Interesting.
But with Octopath 1, you can really measure your progress, and you go online and you can check how many chapters there are. I don't want to spoil that.
Oh, okay. I was about to say how many chapters, but yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
them. But there is a set amount.
Exactly. But yeah, there's a set amount of chapters. There are side missions to do, but they're not. Those aren't great. That's what I'll say 2 improves on, is the side missions are better, and they're really, you're not missing much if you don't do them, but it is, in terms of like chipping away at it day by day, it's structured for you to do that.
Mhm.
And it's much easier to track your progress in Octopath 1 than it is in Octopath 2, because you do have this set number of chapters and they all are very formulaic in how you approach them. So it is a game that you can, chip away at and play an hour at a time, and you will make progress in it for sure.
That sounds good. Yeah, that
Very,
sounds,
very
you guys are
familiar.
selling it.
Town, dungeon, boss. Town, dungeon, boss.
Oh,
Town,
okay.
dungeon, boss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always very predictable, but it's very cozy. And again, the combat is so fun. Like once you actually understand it, it's like I just can't stop playing it.
Hell
I
yeah.
love it, guys. I'm sold. Sold.
As for me, outside of Pikmin, the two games I'm playing are Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door. Finally diving into that. I'm past the first. There's like an opening intro chapter, and now I'm on to the first chapter. Just a delightful little game. I played the first Paper Mario many years ago on Nintendo 64, and this feels it's even though I've never played it before, it's a very nostalgic game. The one thing that I will say about it that's really neat to me is that there's this mechanic that when you fight people, when you specifically in battles, you're on a stage and the audience plays into the gameplay where they'll like throw items at you. Sometimes good. Sometimes they'll throw rocks and stuff at you. And if you do well, more people will gather in this crowd. And then once the battle's over, it's just back to normal. It's like this totally weird, like, oh, we're on a stage for this battle. And it's really neat. So
I love that.
I'm enjoying that quite a bit. And the other one,
Goombella,
yeah, Goombella, yeah, it's your first sidekick character.
Yeah.
I just got the second one, who's like the Koopa, who's kind of a loser in the hoodie. He's got like one weird eye, and he's got like a Band-Aid on his nose.
Yeah.
So I just got him, and he's like out to avenge his father, which is kind of fun. So I'll have more to report on that soon, but I'm really just enjoying playing that. I'm playing on the actual GameCube with that Eon adapter, and it looks fantastic. Obviously, it's a little sharp since it's like 480p, but it looks surprisingly good on my 4K TV. So having a good time with that. The other one I want to talk about is a low-key Switch exclusive that came out in the last few weeks. I have a write-in for this one from Takoyaki, who says, "Hey there, P-uppers. Are any of you guys besides Dustin playing Master Detective Archives Raincode? If so, what are your thoughts? Do you guys like the Shimigami-chan being the new Monokuma mascot character for this game? And possibly for the series going forward? Thanks as always, and keep on keeping on." So I'm pretty sure I'm the only one playing this right now, so I'll just talk on it briefly. This is the new game from the team that brought you Danganronpa. Of course, I had to wear the shirt to talk about this game. And it's neat. It's a nice little mystery. It's kind of a visual novel and kind of not, because there are some interactive parts to it. But it's very much in the style of Danganronpa. So the big thing for Danganronpa is that there's a murder that happens. You got to investigate the murder. And then there's a clash trial where everyone you had to, discuss and figure out who done it, right? Well, this game is also like that, where you have this interaction happen. A bunch of people die. You investigate because you're a detective. And then you go through this palace, like this like mystical palace, where you go and you have to fight different things and figure out like to present evidence, and like your sword is like some like sword of truth or something like that. You do like this hokey like slash to like cut down the bad evidence or whatever. And so I'm having a good time with it. It's a little slow, which I know visual novels are kind of slow in general, but the entire time Holly and I are playing this together, and we're both going, okay, get on with it. It's time to get going. Like the intro part of this game took us a few hours. The first, because it's funny because it's not even the first chapter. It's like chapter 0 is a few hours long, the first case. And so, yeah, we're having a nice time with it. It's not striking me right now as good as Danganronpa at all, but it does do the final thing I'll say about it. and one of the main reasons why I love Danganronpa and what I like so far about this game is that it almost feels like a magic trick when you play it. What's so cool about it is that you're doing all these you're investigating, figuring out what happened, and then when you later are doing the palace, you realize how much misdirection was happening during that initial case. And so it's like I said, it's like this magic trick where you're finding out like, holy shit, how did I not realize that this was going on? How did I not put this together? And at the end, usually it's like, man, how did I didn't pick up on that? So that's what it's so good at. It's just like leaving you like, holy shit. The holy shit. I mean, Danganronpa as a series is full of those holy shit moments. So if you're into that, I highly recommend this so far. It's like I said, a low key Switch exclusive right now.
Yeah.
So,
but it's doing what I've seen of this game, Dust. I have to say, visually, it's really beautiful, stylish. And the character designs are gorgeous. Every time a new anime thing comes out, a very heavily animated thing comes out as an old anime guy, as an old guy in general, I feel like, oh, that's automatically not for me. Like, I'll just go back and replay Snatcher again or something. I think
I wish we could replay
post
Snatcher again. Jesus.
I feel
I've never played it.
Being so old, Gene, like that was the anime stuff that was made for me. Like everything post, I would say like Ni no Kuni, I felt like that. But I have to say, especially, I'm not a big visual novel guy, but I have to say the visual component of it has to be compelling, right? It has to be beautiful to look at because of the speed, not only the writing, like Dustin's saying, but it kind of gets me intrigued because they're so beautifully designed. Some of these things, even the palettes, not even just generally the designs and the environments, but the palettes and everything. I'm like, I would like to give this a shot. You know, maybe I will. See what I think.
I would recommend over trying this first. I would recommend checking out Danganronpa because I think that Danganronpa has a really good hook right off the bat, and I actually think the style is a little better in that game because Danganronpa is much more traditional visual novel where all the characters are flat. And then I think for this game, now that they've got a lot more budget, they've kind of evolved. It is a mixture of like flat character portraits, but it's a lot of 3D stuff.
Yeah, cell shaded stuff.
And I kind of think it lost a little something when they went to 3D over the more animated look of the old games with flat characters.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend checking that out. But the one thing about the style, Dagan, is that as someone who is into a lot of Japanese and anime stuff, I've gotten really turned off by how all characters look the same all the time. It's gotten very generic. The characters in this game and in Danganronpa, so both very distinct. They have a very distinct anime style, which is getting harder and harder to come by.
Yeah.
And so that's a big element of it for me.
Point.
For sure.
Nice.
Well, if we're going to try and sell Dagan on a visual novel, it's got to be Pub Encounter.
Pub
which is
Encounter.
Available on Switch.
Oh,
and that's
wow.
a game where you're a woman, I believe, like in your 20s, and you're romancing men who are in their 40s and up.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Interesting.
You get to romance a guy who's like 60 years old. It's incredible.
Beautiful.
And so if we're looking for visual novels for Dagan, that's one I have to
This is right up my alley.
Very good.
Writing this in all caps.
One last question I wanted to ask you guys from the audience, because I know that we had talked about this a little bit in Discord, comes from our friend Owen, who says, "Hey guys, wonder how you're liking Pokemon Sleep. I love sleep tracking and found it's pretty fun to progress just by snoozing. And it seems fairly accurate to boot. It's also hilarious to see how Nintendo has crammed all the currencies and systems to try and keep people hooked. Will any of you commit to a full year of daily Pokemon Sleep? Let's go all the way. Let's keep fattening up that Snorlax." So we can talk about this briefly because it is a somewhat Nintendo thing releasing on phones. I gave this 3 days, guys. I'm out. I'm hard
Really?
out on Pokemon Sleep. It's just too much shit. There's too much shit in it. It's not too complex that I don't understand it. I understand what's going on. I just don't need all this shit. It's like, hey, come back 3 times a day and feed your Snorlax. There's all these different currencies. Put out some fucking incense. Do this, do that. And I'm like, no. I want it to be simpler, and it's not. And the other thing too is that on day 3, check my stats in the morning, and I got an adorable Slowpoke come hang out. And I was so excited. Slowpoke's one of my favorite Pokemon. And then I screenshotted it, and I thought to myself, I think that's the max amount of enjoyment I'm going to get out of this. Like, I think I've peaked here, is getting this Slowpoke.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I'm just kind of I feel burdened by it. It's like, I don't want to check into this game 3 times a day.
Oh, that sucks.
To make, and dude, it's so annoying. Dude, you're supposed to if you want to min max and feed Snorlax, you're supposed to check in and feed him and collect all the berries that your Pokemon collect. I'm just like, dude, I'm not feeling the sleep tracking stuff is cool.
Yeah,
but there's better sleep tracking apps if that's all you want to do. So, Micah, I know you were checking this out as well. Are you feeling like me where it's just kind of like, take it or leave it?
Well, here's the thing. I was going to check it out, downloaded it on my phone. I got freaked out when I saw that it was like recorded some guy's farts in the night.
Oh yeah, it does record you.
I said no. I was like, you're not recording me while I sleep. That's weird. That's too weird. Like, that's too much. Like, I thought it was just going to keep track of like, I don't trust it though, right? Like they say, yeah, you can turn it off, but I have a feeling they're still listening.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's too weird. I can't get past that. And not that I'm the one that's farting, it's the dogs. I swear to God, actually. Like the other day, Rush, I woke up because it smelled so bad in our room. And I heard Rush farting. And like that's what I woke up to. It was just horrible. And like he usually sleeps under the blanket. He came out of the blanket and it like wafted out with him. I was like, so regardless, I'm not getting great sleep anyways. So I don't need the Pokemon app to tell me that. But it kind of just weirded me out. And then also in just Googling it and seeing how involved it is, I was like, I wasn't really looking for a mobile game to sink time into. I just thought this was going to be a cute little sleep tracker.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I much like Dustin, without actually experiencing it, but just Googling things and be like, no, this is way more involved. I don't want to touch this,
that sounds like work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got too much for me. Yeah. Too much. I wasn't even gonna try it. I kept telling myself, all right, set it up. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. The more I saw about it, the more I said this is so involved for what I thought was just a sleep tracker and what's really like its own game.
I totally agree. It's just it's too much for me to want to check in. I don't know. This is how a lot of phone games are though. So Gene, I know you were checking it out too.
I did not check it out. I installed it. I installed it per assignment and I just forgot to do it. And if it actually requires a lot of upkeep, I think I'm already a lost cause. Because here's the thing: like I re-downloaded Duolingo because I wanted to learn Portuguese.
Yeah,
because I want to be a megastar in Brazil. I think that's my future.
Good.
Just pure celebritydom in Brazil. And I've already missed 4 days of fucking Duolingo. Mm-hmm. And you know how aggressive Duolingo can get with those reminders and everything. I just open it and ignore it. I'm leaving it on because I still want to continue to learn Portuguese, and I've kind of picked it back up again. But like, if I'm already struggling with that, if I have to check Pokemon Sleep 3 times a day and there's all these mini games to get involved with, I'm not sure if I could do it. But I'll try it out once. I kind of want to hear myself sleeping. I know I'm a really, really loud snorer. It's been a problem for years that I've been told by the women I sleep with. So I do want to hear how bad it really is, and I should probably go to a doctor to get that checked out too. So
here's an image of my Slowpoke. We got max friendship points immediately.
Nice.
You did it,
of course.
You went straight.
That's the game.
To the goal.
This is it. This is my peak.
That's the game.
I'm done here. Unless maybe you could get like a Polygon in there. I like that Pokemon too, but I'm happy with this. So Dagan, I'm guessing. Yeah. I mean, I can't recommend this to you at all. I
didn't know all this. I'm
yeah.
intrigued by some of the aspects of it, but I don't want to do the Tamagotchi thing. Like, I don't want to take care of things and check in with an app and all that sort of thing. By the way, Duolingo, Pittsburgh's own Duolingo. I only know that because they
Really?
won't hire me over there. I
No,
don't
no,
know
I didn't
why.
know that.
Like, I draw exactly like this. Why won't you hire me? What has happened? Why do you hate me? I applied to them like 3 times now. Sorry for that tangent.
I did not know that they were from Pittsburgh. That's
I think
crazy.
they're Pittsburgh
No.
based.
Interesting.
They are. They're on Penn Ave in Pittsburgh, PA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice. Very cool.
Yeah, claim to fame over there, my friend. Yeah, I mean, you know what I love? This is mustache twirling villain Dagan, but I think I'm going to do this, and she'll never know because she doesn't watch the show or any of my shows. I'm going to do it I'm going to put the Pokemon sleep app on Helene's side of the bed, and she's going to be doing it, and she's not even going to know.
Oh.
I don't know why, but that's just kind of funny. You know, it was a deal breaker for me when I found out it had to be on your pillow. Like, I don't think. I don't know. I don't want to sleep with the phone in the bed.
Yeah.
It's kind of
it's
a
annoying.
weird thing. Plus, how does it decipher between, like Micah's saying, who you're sharing the bed with, whether it be, significant others or animals? How does
Right.
it differentiate? I'm not sure. But
No,
I like
they
the
probably
sleep
did assume
tracking
it's for
thing.
children, right?
But what'd you say, Mike?
They probably did assume this is for children who are sleeping alone,
Oh,
and probably not for
Yeah.
30-year-old adults
Not man
sharing
children.
their room.
Yeah.
Because it probably is like, this is for Timmy who's 10, not Micah who's 30.
Yeah,
It
but
probably
that's
is
like-
simpler in their mind.
That's like saying people aren't going to play Pokemon Go. Like, it probably would have been that way 30 years ago, but not now. Look at all of us man children and women.
Yeah.
It's a different time. It is for us. Let's be honest. I want to see, but Dustin reminds me, like, there are other sleep tracker apps. If you just want to track your sleep and see what the trends are and what's going on there at night and be recorded and all that, you don't have to do it. It just makes it a little entertaining when I have the possibility of seeing Jigglypuff and Raichu and my other favorites pop up in there, But
Yeah.
I don't know. I might give it a shot. Maybe I'll check in a couple of weeks and I'll report, Helene found out 3 nights in and
Mhm.
now we're pending divorce.
Now you're sleeping on the couch. So anything can happen. Guys, I've got a quick game for you guys.
Nice.
Very quick game. I called it Mario Moneybags, which is not a very clever name for what this quick game. I was inspired. I was listening to Easy Allies podcast. They had a listener write in about a game where you are guessing some of the different prices of retro games. And we talk a lot about retro games on this show.
Oh, that's fun.
So I took that nugget of an idea from one of their listeners and reformatted it, because theirs was about like they had to like put them in a list and rank them together.
Oh God.
I'm making it a little more simple. It's going to be, you have to pick which game you think cost more on pricecharting.com.
Mm-hmm.
And this is complete in box for
Okay.
all categories, whether it's a GameCube complete in box or like a Super Nintendo game complete with the box.
CIB.
So we'll go through these real quick. You guys got to keep score yourself because I will not remember.
Okay.
Let's start with it. Maybe these are easy, maybe not. I slightly tried to make them from easier to harder, but we'll see. Which game is more expensive? Super Mario RPG or Earthbound? Dagan.
Earthbound.
Micah.
I'm going Earthbound.
Gene.
I'll go Earthbound to.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is an easy one. Super Mario RPG complete in box $436.70. Earthbound complete in box $2,115 right now
That's great.
Wow.
for complete in box. That Earthbound. Just think about those times you used to see it on clearance, Dagan.
That is
Gene.
insane.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Think about
Funko
it.
Land days, you could get that game for $40.
Yeah. Let's go with some Pokemon GameCube. This one's a little tougher. Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, or Pokemon Coliseum. Which one is more expensive? Dagan.
Oh man, I'm out of the loop on this one. I'll say Coliseum.
Okay. Micah?
Coliseum was also going to be my go-to. I don't want to sound like I'm copying Dagan, but that was the first one that I said. I think it's that one.
Okay. Gene?
I bet it's Gale of Darkness.
Gene, you are correct. It is Gale of Darkness. $201.50 for Gale of Darkness. Pokemon Coliseum is sitting a little less at $152.50. These GameCube games. Just insane right now. We have
That's
another lineup of GameCube games. I'm going to switch up who I ask first this one.
Okay.
I should have been doing that from the beginning. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Let's go with some Mario spin-offs. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour or Mario Party 7. These are both GameCube games. Micah, which one do you think is more expensive?
I'm going with Mario Golf.
Golf?
I'm leaning towards that.
I'm going golf,
It's got
too.
to be the one that's more expensive.
Gene says golf. Dagan.
Yeah, I would think golf.
You guys are all dead wrong.
Wow.
No.
Really?
Interesting.
Mario Party's almost, well, not almost, but yeah, pretty close. Twice the price at $54.99 for Mario Party 7.
What the fuck?
Mario
Wow.
Golf, a cheaper GameCube game at $26.72.
Wow.
So
Not bad.
not bad.
Yeah.
Let's head over to the Game Boy Advance. This is a real tough one.
Mm.
Pokemon Fire Red or Pokemon Leaf Green. Same games, two different versions. One of them is more expensive. Which one is it, Gene?
I'll say leaf green.
Dagan?
Yeah, I'm gonna go green.
Micah?
I'm gonna say green. I think I've seen so many people talking about Fire Red, but I never see people talk about green. To me, that means it's rare.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
that's my go-to
Same here.
feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly the same reasoning.
You guys are all correct. Leaf Green is $286.31, complete in box. Fire Red, a cool $200. So you're looking at an $86 premium for the green box. And
They had to
cartridge.
make so many of those games. Why are they so expensive?
Dude,
That's
demand,
so
dude.
strange.
Pokemon Emerald, I don't have this on the list. I think it's like 180 loose or something. I have a loose Emerald that I happened to get from a girlfriend in high school who didn't want it. I'm getting the last laugh on that one. 'Cause that's pretty penny for just the cartridge. Let's
It's
do
the
the
price of an actual emerald.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Okay, let's do the battle of the N64 goats. Super Mario 64 or Zelda Ocarina of Time. Dagan, we're back to you starting.
Yeah, I think Ocarina is more expensive.
Micah,
I'm gonna go with Mario on this one.
I'm
Gene.
gonna go with Mario on this one too. I think the Mario one will be a little bit more rare.
Dagan, you're taking the L because
Oh.
Zelda
Oh, you son of
Ocarina
a
of Time
Yeah.
is $118.83. Mario 64, $127.25.
Launch,
A little more
launch-
expensive.
Launch game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, older.
Let's get into, we got two more. Obscure GameCube. Not obscure, but lesser known thought of GameCube games
Okay.
from Nintendo first party. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance or F-Zero GX, the last game in the F-Zero timeline. Micah, you're up.
I'm saying Fire Emblem because I like Fire Emblem a lot.
Okay. Gene,
I'll say F-Zero.
Dagan.
Yeah, I'll go Path of Radiance. Fire Emblem.
Gene, you're taking the L this time.
Oh wow!
Path of Radiance, $243.33.
Honestly, I should have
That's
gone the
crazy.
JRPG route. JRPGs are usually more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to throw you off because F-Zero, this is also not a cheap game at $80
Mm-hmm.
and supposedly an amazing game. I've never played
Yeah, it's
F-Zero
supposed to be
I
GX.
did play it. It's amazing. It's
I'd love to get it
so
at
fucking
some
good.
point.
God damn it!
Okay. The last one, a Wii U face-off. Game and Wario or Twilight Princess HD? Gene.
I'm actually good. I think I'll go with Zelda for now. Yeah,
Zelda?
I think I'll do the Zelda.
Dagan?
Yeah, I think I gotta go Twilight Princess too on that.
Micah?
I'm going with Wario on this one.
I tried to trick you guys and I mostly succeeded. Game and Wario is more expensive than
Oh,
Twilight
man.
Princess HD at $120.29. Twilight Princess HD at $105.65.
Yeah.
So
I
something
got
about
two.
that Game and Wario game. I saw it. I had no idea
Yeah.
that was a rare or, I don't know, limited print Wii U game, most likely. So
Interesting.
there you guys go. A little, a sad game on the state of retro collecting where you can just truly.
People will pay it. It's worth that much. It's case in point. It's unbelievable. It's getting worse than classic cars.
Dude,
Unbelievable.
so I have a video coming out, so I won't I won't spoil any of my pickups. I was at a retro game thing this past weekend in Cleveland. Spent a lot of money. A lot of money. But I got some cool stuff I'm excited to tell you guys about eventually. Okay, let's wrap up with 3 listener questions. I cut down some of them because we are getting a little long, but that's okay. I want to make sure we got in and hearing from you guys. This first one is from Cody Horn, who says, "Hey, gang, as someone new to the JRPG genre, what are some of your top recommendations on the Switch? I don't love the cringy delivery and padded content that seems to plague these games at times. However, I've heard time and time again that this genre holds some of the best stories of all time. I'm completely open to pixel art and any combat style. Thanks for all the great content." So I'll just kick off here and say for Cody, he wants to get into JRPG. So he needs something that's a little more palatable. You know, my gut recommendation, something modern. It's long, but that comes with the territory. Persona 5 is now out on Switch. It's a great way to get your feet wet into JRPGs. It's a long game, but I really don't think it has padded content into it. I think that it really earns that playtime. So that's my recommendation. But I guess I'll go down the line here. Dagan, for you, any JRPG recommendations?
You know, I wouldn't normally do this, but I would recommend Octopath Traveler and Octopath Traveler 2 by hearsay, just because I know inherently I'm going to love these games so much, and something that might be a little more modern and palatable for a younger person or an inexperienced person. But I have to say, just pick up. You don't even have to pick up the whole Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection, because I think 1 through 3 are... it's nice to get the history, but I think if you just play Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 6, it's a brilliant intro to JRPGs. And Final Fantasy 4 is my introduction as a wee lad. So it worked for me. Like that was my sort of hook into the whole genre. So why not? Right. And Earthbound, I think, is also available to play on the Switch, which is a special game.
Is Earthbound on NSO?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was.
I'm trying to remember.
But if not, just play it on the well, we were saying how expensive it is. I was going to say the Super Nintendo Mini.
Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings, the original.
They're both on there? Okay, good.
I think they are still.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a special game.
Yeah,
Earthbound
fantastic.
Yeah.
Micah, what are you recommending as someone's first? Well, not first, but early entry into JRPGs.
Yeah. Honestly, a game I really enjoyed recently on Switch was Triangle Strategy. So, because one of the things that Cody mentioned here, not enjoying like cringy delivery. Now, a lot of these games aren't voice acted very well, so I'm trying to think of things that are. And Triangle Strategy, I felt, was very well done. The story had me hooked within the first 10 minutes. So, it's definitely something that really captured my interest. I really enjoy, that like turn-based combat, so that was perfect for me. But it is, I'm trying to think of games that I thoroughly enjoyed, like, one of them, for example, Shining Resonance Refrain. I think that game is amazing, but it probably does have a few moments that are a little cringy. It's got some romance aspects to it. But I was trying to think of games that had very limited side content, for example. Like Shining Resonance, I don't think has side quests at all. Triangle Strategy, you can replay battles if you choose to, if you want to just like improve your strategy, but you don't have to. There's very little in the way of content outside the main story. So that's my default recommendation, just based on the story. I think is high quality, the voice acting is high quality, and there's not much extra in it. You're going to play through the main story, and that has everything you need for it. So that's my default. But I would say that there's so many games out there that are fantastic, but maybe they are a little cringy in the delivery, like your Tales games that I love, or Shining Resonance. But if you completely want to look past that, I mean, Dustin, Persona 5 is the fantastic recommendation, because that game is acted wonderfully and the story is so engaging, and it's just incredible. That would definitely be my pick as well if you hadn't already said it.
Hell yeah. So, Gene, you're big on JRPGs.
Yeah.
Where should people dive in, get their feet wet?
Well, we already talked about Xenoblade Chronicles. I would recommend starting from part 1 and go through the trilogy. I think I think the Xenoblade Chronicles, it's interesting that he mentioned story, because I think Xenoblade Chronicles is the best story I've ever played in JRPG, period. The whole trilogy, complete top to bottom. Love it so much. I can't stop praising it enough. The voice acting isn't cringy. It's very, very well acted. It's all British. And the fun thing is that if you notice, different British dialects go with different sections of each like nation, and that continues in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where certain titans will have certain dialects of British, Northern British, Southern British, and then the Blades characters, which are like kind of like the robotic sidekicks that you get, they all speak in American accents. So all of that is super fun. But besides that, everyone already said Persona 5. I'm going to recommend Persona 4, even over Persona 5. Have you guys played Persona 4 at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that the story hook for that game is stronger. And I think even the cast is stronger. The gameplay in Persona 5 obviously is much better and it's much more stylish and much more fun to look at. I think the soundtrack is kind of better in Persona 5, but honestly 4 is so strong too. It's really a toss up there. 5 just makes a really strong impact, right? But I think the story hook of 4, where you're trying to solve a serial killer case, it's just stronger than 5, which is like, oh, they're trying to change the minds of bad people. That's a little bit like harder to get into than 4. It's like, oh, there's a murder around a small town, and you got to figure that out. And then yeah, I won't spoil the rest, but yeah, I just think Persona 4 is perfect. It's a perfect little JRPG. It's very simple to understand. It's way simpler to understand the Octopath Traveler, but similar aspects in terms of like making sure that you got weaknesses and everything. But I think P4 is just more accessible, and P5 too.
The only reason I didn't say P4 was just that I think that for a newcomer, the dungeon design could be off-putting for Persona 4.
Sure.
So I guess it depends on what part of it or what concerns you about what's concerning about JRPGs. There's a lot concerning, of course, about JRPGs. But if you're more interested in the story and can deal with a little bit of annoying gameplay, Persona 4. But if you're all about gameplay, I mean, the story's also awesome in Persona 5. You really can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, either one's fantastic. It's like Final Fantasy 6 or Chrono Trigger. It's like choosing between those, Yeah, I think those are the best ones. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles, like the combat system can get a little tough to get into, but I mean, just pay attention, dude. Don't be like me and not pay attention like I did with Octopath Traveler or even Pikmin. Pikmin is another game that you can't really like kind of sleepwalk through. You kind of have to pay attention to what's going on. But yeah, I mean, those are my top picks.
Okay, so this next one comes from Dion De La Cia, who says, "What up, punchers? When I hear people are fretting over backwards compatibility for the Switch successor, I ask myself, why do we need it? Why can't we play our Switch games on our Switches? We all have one. Are y'all hung up on backwards compatibility in 2023? Or do you think here at Nintendo, we believe in generations?" The classic Jim Ryan quote. So I wanted to bring this up just as a counterpoint to some of our conversation last week about backwards compatibility. And I do think that Dion does have a bit of a point here where it's like your Switch isn't going away. It's not obsolete. The moment they release a new one, it's not like your Switch dies permanently. But obviously I feel like, the convenience of being able to just have one new system over than keeping 2 around and then eventually 3 around and 4 around. You know what I mean? I think that that's an important aspect. But I wanted to bring this up from Dion, and I was curious if you guys had any thoughts. Dagan, you weren't here last week when we were talking about backwards compatibility. Do you think it's worth being concerned about in some degree, or should we just be like, hey, we have Switches, these games are for Switch, and so if it doesn't come forward, then that's okay?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good points on both sides, and I'm old school, but I see backwards compatibility, I don't want to say as an olive branch, but as an amicable gesture by a hardware company, right? Like, Nintendo's at the top of their game right now. Why not even extend that lovability and that appeal and sort of that interface with their customer by just making the next, even if it costs a little more money, which it probably would, they would have to offer backwards compatibility at some sort of additional cost for whatever hardware they're going to produce next. But why not just do that just in the name of, trying to make everybody happy, even if it costs a little more, because the next Switch 2, whatever it's going to be, it's going to do well. It's going to make money, right? I see it as giving the consumer a little bit extra, and why not? Because not having backwards compatibility does seem like a little bit of a cash grab to me. And again, that's because I've been around video games for so many decades, and it always feels like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll offer it to you again, but you'll buy it again, type of thing. And eventually, things are gonna the online shops, the e-shops for the various consoles are gonna go away eventually. We don't have to worry about that with Switch right now, but eventually it is gonna be obsolete. Look at the Wii U, right? So I see it as a nice thing if the company could offer it, and I would love to see Nintendo do it, because it would be a warm and fuzzy gesture from a company we don't get that much of from.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll leave that at that, unless there's anything you got, Micah and Gene, you guys really want to touch on, just because I know we talked about it last week, but I wanted to bring up a counterpoint and have Dagan jump in. But
I think he's got a good point. It's a little different with the Switch than it is with the PS5 and PS4, because the Switch is portable, right? So you can always just carry around your Switch Lite, and it never really feels obsolete. You bought your Switch Lite, it's going to be underpowered, but you're carrying it around, and it's fun that way. With the PS4, you can't really carry it around, and if with the PS4 you're going to replace it, you're probably going to replace it on your countertop. Versus the Switch, you can always just grab it out of your purse or your bag and just keep it charged or whatever, and then you have the new Switch as a centerpiece in your living room. I actually still have my PS4 hooked up still, just for the heck of it, because I love the PS4 so much,
me
right?
too.
But again, there's no downside to having it backwards compatible. It'll be nice to have certain games that struggle hitting 60 FPS or even 30 FPS, like Pokemon Sword and Shield, just power through with new hardware, and finally we can play Pokemon at 30 FPS like we've always dreamed of, So it'll just be nice. It'll be a nice gesture. Games that are supposed to be 60 FPS will finally be 60 FPS. Maybe Doom won't be, going down to like 480 or 360p when we play it too,
Yeah, definitely. Mike, anything quick on this one, or?
No, I totally agree with Gene. There is some good points there, especially with the Switch being portable. I mean, one of the biggest things about backwards compatibility for the GameCube, for example, you want to play it on your modern TV, you either need the adapter, which is cool that it exists, or you actually need to go get an old TV. I don't think I'm not the biggest technology person, but we've been on HDMI cables for a while now. I don't think those are going to go away. So I'm pretty sure we're safe at this point in terms of your console being compatible with your next TV that you might buy. So that aspect of it, we don't have to worry about anymore. That does play a big part in it for me, in terms of it being easy to play, quote unquote older games. Let's say on your PlayStation 4, it's easy to hook up because all you have to do is just get your HDMI cables. You don't need to go find your composite cables anymore, like on really old systems. So I do think that's part of it, is that the reality with backwards compatibility is that as long as the console is still easy to play, and it pretty much is now with the modern old consoles, and that plays a factor in whether or not I actually need it to be backwards compatible or not.
Right. Final question. And this is also kind of, I guess it's hardware related. We're wrapping up with two hardware related questions. This one comes from Yosh Wah, who says, "Hello, Punching Up crew. Got a quick question for you. Oh, and by the way, before I go forward, a few people wrote in with very similar question to this. So this is on a lot of people's minds right now. Continuing, he says, I just bought a Switch 2 years ago, and it still feels like a new console to me. Despite its age, I love the functionality and portability. It's basically my indie game machine. With that being said, I would like a refresh. I was wondering if any of you would recommend the OLED model, or do you find it wiser to just wait for Nintendo's new console? Like Dustin mentioned on a recent episode of Constellation, I am too frugal with my cash and don't want to buy an OLED if the new thing is right around the corner. What say you? Is an OLED worth it? Or can we expect something new from Nintendo in the next year or so? Loving the new podcast and the cast of LSM characters involved. Love from Michigan." So here's my thoughts, Yosh, is that there's definitely something coming in in 1 year from today, we will be playing a new Switch. I feel pretty confident about, or new thing from Nintendo. But as we were just saying, we don't know, first of all, if it'll be backwards compatibility. So that's something to at least consider. But part of this frugal nature, Yosh, at least for me, is that you could sell your current Switch, put it towards an OLED, and then in a year from now, if there is a new Switch, then think about that as part of the life cycle where you could sell that OLED and get the new thing. And I think that it really depends on your playstyle. If you're playing games handheld all the time, then yes, the OLED is going to be, I personally think it's a massive upgrade.
Huge upgrade.
Huge, not only just being a slightly bigger screen, but the contrast. It's so good that it makes it tough to play Steam Deck for me, which is way more powerful than the Switch for certain games, because I'm like, this quality of the screen is just so much better. So, Dagan, do you have any advice for Yosh here on his purchasing decisions?
Yeah, I mean, you could set your watch by me buying something right before the new one comes out. I have the most awful time with that. Whether it's like a line of sneakers like Nike Dunks, or a version of a movie, or video game related hardware, software, it doesn't matter. Like, as soon as I buy something, then the new one comes out. So I would just say, if you're feeling like a gut reaction, like, oh, I need to buy, I want to buy the OLED, just buy it. Don't even think twice about it. Just do it now. And just kind of jump on that first initial gut feeling of, I'm going to get something. But, why even, I think, and plus I think it's worth it. I think everything Dustin's saying is right. There's a lot of attributes to that. You'll have it. It's going to be another year. You're going to get plenty of play out of it as long as you're pretty consistent with your Nintendo stuff. So why not? Why not just jump in and just grab it? And also just the nature of having things that are older. Like, we learned that in the Funko Land days, right? You don't trade in your old stuff. We just keep everything now. It's decades of that. So you're gonna have it. It's not going anywhere. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful machines. And probably really good bang for your buck too in this case. I think the OLED Switch, it's pricey, but it's money well spent.
Mm-hmm. Micah, I know that you don't have an OLED Switch, and you do play handheld quite a bit. So I'm guessing, are you going to say hold off?
Do you have an OLED TV in the living room?
I think so.
Yeah,
Dustin,
you have an OLED TV.
TV?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I'm not a graphics person, partly because
You have to ask Dustin what kind of TV you have.
I'm the one who told Colin what to buy.
Okay, you told
but
Colin
also,
what to buy. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have very good vision. Like, literally, my vision is very poor. I wear contacts. So I don't appreciate graphics as much as someone who can see. A big part of that too is the whole thing about like 30 frames versus 60. My eyes are bad. I can't really see it. So I won't tell you to not buy it. If you enjoy things that are pretty, like, go ahead and get it. I should upgrade because my Switch is all scratched up because I left it on the sofa one day and Treble ran over it. So I still use it though handheld constantly, even though it's like covered in scratches. I should just upgrade. But I keep telling myself the next one's coming, But the reality is that I should have replaced it a year ago when Treble scratched the shit out of it. So don't be me. If you want it, take Dagan's advice. The reality is that you honestly, we're late in the life cycle of the Switch. But if you want the new one, just get it. If you appreciate the graphics, if you're going to put the time into it. If you're only playing your Switch for an hour a week, I'm not going to tell you to go buy the new shiny one.
Right.
But if you're like me and playing handheld for several hours a week, sometimes several hours a day, go ahead and buy it. You want the damn thing. If you have the money for it, just get it.
Yeah. Gene, the owner of, 12 Switches at this point, 7, I can't remember.
Half of that, 6 Nintendo Switches. So I'm not exactly the best person to ask for objective advice on this. Basically what everyone else says, if you're playing handheld, then sure. Here's the thing, like, I do not have an OLED TV. So many times when I am playing on the Switch, I actually prefer to play on the OLED Switch because Octopath Traveler just looks that much better on the OLED Switch than it does on my 4K regular LCD TV. But the color just pop more on the OLED. So if you've never seen the OLED TV or panel before, this will be something new. But again, to be fair, it's the same game. It's the same system. So you're not really getting an upgrade. You're not really getting a refresh. You're just getting, keep in mind, you're only getting a new display. So if the display matters to you, then get it. But if not, then, just wait or whatever. So,
yeah. Like I said, the OLED, the screen, inky blacks, it's bright, it's beautiful, everything. It's very nice. If you're playing
Digital Foundry
handheld.
said it's still the best, it's still the best handheld gaming screen ever. So
I believe that 100%. I agree with it. That's it, guys, for this episode of Punching Up. I'm glad we get to do this. This is fun, especially just because, Pikmin 4, it's exciting. When these new releases, we get to talk about it, hang out for a bit. And thank you to the audience for hanging out. I know that we've been getting tons of feedback. People love this show. People love talking that we finally are talking about Nintendo. We super appreciate all the feedback. And I want to remind you guys again, one more time, if you would like a beautiful Punching Up sticker, we have them at laststandmedia.store. You can put them on your car, your computer. You can stick it to your cat. I don't care. Whatever you want to do with it. Put it somewhere illegal, something like that. I'm not going to tell you to do it. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Deface something with this sticker. Who's to tell you not to?
Starbucks drive-thru. Everybody puts the sticker on that one thing.
Yeah.
I want to see some Punching Up stickers on the Starbucks drive-thrus.
Yes.
Come on. Let's get them out there.
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
Closing comments, closing concerns, whatever you want. Micah, thanks for joining us. Any final thoughts?
The only thought I had was, this is completely random. Whenever someone mentions Gex, all I can think of is that website GoozeX. Do you guys remember that for trading games?
No.
Oh wow, it was this website. It was really weird. We're like, I don't even know how to describe it. Kind of, you posted the games you wanted to trade. You kind of earned like a credit for trading games, and then it was a whole thing that doesn't exist anymore. And the audience, there's going to be one random person in the audience that's like, I remember GoozeX, but that was something, as soon as we started talking about Gex, that's always what I associate it with, simply because of the name. So shout out to GoozeX. It doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. But, for the people who traded games with me back then, thank you.
Shout out.
Service.
Sounds like a porn site.
Yeah.
It does sound more nefarious than it really is.
I'm a star on GoozeX.
Yeah, you think you could just rewrite it as Goose Sex,
Yeah. Goose Sex. That might be a whole different site.
No.
Moving on, Gene.
This isn't Baldur's Gate 3,
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Gene, any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, great show. Look, we're actually going to come up with a pretty busy fall season, So it's not going to be a dearth of news forever. We got Super Mario Wonder might end up just becoming Game of the Year over Zelda. Who knows?
Anything's possible.
And like we said, there's a new console coming, and once that happens, it's going to be our time. The Duke boys are having their time with their Xbox victory. PlayStation is PlayStation selling more than ever these days, but sooner or later it's gonna be a huge Nintendo cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
Be there. We're here now.
We're ready to go. We are armed. We're ready. We're loaded. Dagan, closing thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was super fun. This is super random too, but I realized in my notes Disney Illusion Island is coming out on Friday.
That's right. Yeah.
And that game looks sweet.
Yeah, it does. So surprisingly, it's just like it's like, hey, this is a random Disney Mickey Mouse game, but it's like, no, this is like, looks pretty dang cool.
Yeah, it could be something here. We'll talk about it next time.
For sure. Well, thank you guys once again. And thank you for everyone. I saw your comments last week on YouTube trying to pump up the algorithm. We just got to make it on that list. We got to make it on that Nintendo podcast list. So thank you guys. Keep your comments coming, all your ratings, reviews. We really appreciate it. And of course, patreon.com/laststandmedia. We appreciate all your support there. We'll be back in just a few weeks. We'll see you guys later. Bye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand, LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.